All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to start off the stream by giving Boss some snacks here because he's very excited for them. So, Boss, come on. Come over here. Over here. He thinks I have them in my hand. They're right here. Up here. Look. There you go. Enjoy, man. You earned it. He loves these things. He loves these things. I don't think I can give you any more than that, though, Boss. I think there's like a limit here. So it's to be like 10 to 12 treats, I think, at a time. I think that's about how much I gave him. But there you go. Boss is going to enjoy some snacks in the background there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. We are talking all about the Game of the Year nominees because they're officially out. And it's definitely some good news for PlayStation. Certainly. We're going to go over all the details and discuss it thoroughly. I want to first give a big shout out to Toolman55, who decided to re-up his membership. He's been a longtime member. And on top of that, he actually re-upped it to the Play Has No Limits tier. So really appreciate that, man. Really appreciate you showing that dedication and that support. And I also want to give a big shout out to JakeSkew27, who decided to kick off today by gifting a channel membership. So that's actually 2 members already on the day, which is amazing to see. So thank you guys so much for that. And King Sam, I'm going to read your super chat momentarily here. As I said, we're going to be talking all about the Game of the Year nominees, as well as all the other nominations. The Game Awards are right around the corner, and obviously every year they create a major discussion. So, yeah. King Sam with a super chat here says, "Hey MBG, Baldur's Gate 3 is absolutely winning Game of the Year. Final Fantasy 16 should have been nominated, but but it's okay. Still would have lost to Baldur's Gate 3. So, yeah, that seems to be a pretty popular sentiment right now. A lot of people feeling that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be the game that takes the Game of the Year for 2023. And it seems like it will. I mean, it's... Damn, you're done already? He annihilated those. Holy crap. It's been like it wasn't even like a minute. Sorry, man, I can't give you any more. Maybe at the end of the stream. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, it seems like it's going to win Game of the Year. I mean, I think it's... I don't want to say it's guaranteed. I don't think anything's guaranteed here, but a lot of people do really believe that this is going to be the game that takes it, and it's understandable. I mean, it's a huge surprise hit in a way. I mean, I think everybody knew it was going to be a good game, but it just really kind of came out swinging in a big way. I personally haven't played it, but I could easily see it winning Game of the Year. And that's something we're going to talk about. The fact that Final Fantasy 16 is missing. How is Final Fantasy 16 not nominated for Game of the Year? It's my personal Game of the Year so far. And, oh man, it's so disappointing to see it not nominated because I feel like it absolutely deserves it. It's a little bit heartbreaking to see that Final Fantasy 16 is not featured there because it just did so many things so well. It really did. It really did. And, it's not that big of a deal. The game, I think for a lot of people is the Game of the Year for them. But yeah, I was quite surprised to see that. And we're going to go over the list. Let me give a big shout out to AJ. AJ comes in and he drops 5 membership gifts on the community here. Guys, let's get some... Whoa, easy there, boss. Easy. Uh-oh, I think I got him overly excited. He's walking around my desk and stuff. Look, I don't mind, man. Just don't mess with the wires, okay? Listen, guys, if this stream gets disconnected at some point, it's definitely going to be because boss is messing with my setup here. So apologies in advance if that happens. I will come back if it does happen. But AJ, thank you so much, man, for gifting those 5 memberships. I really do appreciate that. That is for you.
Appreciate
and
it.
I'll give you a Mark Cerny as well, AJ. And so actually, this is a great opportunity for me to let you guys know how you can support my content, how you can support my channel. There are a couple of ways you can do it. As I always say, just being here, watching the content, thank you so much for that, guys. I mean, if it wasn't for you watching, there would be no reason to, produce the content at all. So thank you for that. Take a second of your time, hit that like button. If you enjoy the streams, if you want to just help with the algorithm, hit that like button. But if you want to support me directly, there are 3 ways in which you can do that. Number 1, become a channel member, gain access to member. I don't know what I'm saying there. Become a channel member, gain access to some exclusive perks. If you're already a channel member, even if you were gifted a membership, you have the ability to gift memberships as well, like AJ and like Jake Skew here. So if that's something you want to do to help support me and get the community more involved, feel free to do so. And last but not least, you can consider donating a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. It's very much appreciated. So a big thank you and a big shout out to all of you guys who support me directly. You guys are the sponsors of the channel here. I love being able to produce content here and keep the channel flowing. And if it wasn't for your support, I simply wouldn't be able to do it. So big shout out to all of you guys. You know who you are. Let me add those memberships to the counter here. That actually brings us up. To 7 members on the day already, which is awesome to see. I have Marcus here, member for 6 months, who says, Hogwarts Legacy is my game of the year. Not surprised to hear that. I think that there are certainly people out there who feel that Hogwarts Legacy is their game of the year. But unfortunately, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think Hogwarts Legacy was nominated for literally anything, which is kind of crazy in a way. And that's something we're going to do. We're going to go over all of the different categories here and dissect each category, see what's nominated, what isn't. There seems to be some controversy saying, where was I yesterday? I know. I said I was going to stream it live, but I wasn't able to. I apologize for that. But we're here today and we'll talk about it. Yeah, obviously a big part of the conversation is Starfield, as Michael Lynch brings up here. He says with a $5 super chat, a Starfield nomination would have been a pity vote, the equivalent of asking the fat girl to the dance. Sorry, Xbox, but that game was stuck in the past. No, don't say it, Michael. Don't say it, okay? They're going to come after me. They're going to come after you. They're going to come after all of us. If we even mention Starfield, it's clearly it got snubbed, okay? There's no conceivable reality in which Starfield just simply isn't a Game of the Year contender, because you're talking about a game that was supposed to be Game of the Generation. I mean, isn't that kind of wild how that works? It goes from this is Game of the Generation to this game isn't even going to get nominated for Game of the Year. Dude, I'll be honest with you. I feel sorry for Xbox, man. I do. It's been like 14 years. 14 years since I think they've had a game nominated for Game of the Year. I'm not even winning, just nominated. It's been 14 years. That is crazy. And I don't blame anybody, frankly, for thinking that Starfield was going to be a Game of the Year contender, because it should have been. It should have been. Look, man, we could talk about all the games that are nominated, which we are, and we could maybe say, like, this game deserves to be there, this game doesn't. We could talk about how maybe they should have made it 8 games instead of 6 games this year, but I don't know, man. Once I saw that Starfield, it was a little bit more divisive in terms of the critical reception than I think what we were expecting, or what most people were expecting. Once I saw that, I kind of thought to myself, okay, it's going to have a much harder time getting to that Game of the Year nominee spot than it would have, because Starfield came out. I think what people need to realize is, dude, Starfield came out in an insane year. It's this year has been absolutely insane for game releases. But yeah, dude, there are people absolutely having meltdowns right now about Starfield not being nominated for Game of the Year, and it's pretty funny to see, because it's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Microsoft paid a lot of money for this game, and I don't know that Microsoft paid to buy Bethesda in the hope of securing a Game of the Year contender. I don't know that that's what they were doing. I think Microsoft they secured Bethesda for the future, for Game Pass for their financial situation and, making money. But I get it, man. There was so much hype around Starfield. It's like, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, maybe better luck next year, Microsoft. I don't know. I mean, maybe they will have better luck next year with a game like Hellblade or something. But we have Hellbound 1981. Another legend shows up. He comes in and he drops 5 more membership gifts onto the community. Hellbound, thank you so much, my friend. You are here pretty much every single stream, dropping 5 or more memberships consistently, which is very, very much appreciated, buddy. So, guys, let's get some W's in the chat for Hellbound. He's keeping that membership train going strong today. I'll give you a Jin Sakai for that one, Hellbound. So let me add that to the counter here. There we go. So we are at 12 members already on the day, which is awesome to see. So again, Hellbound, thank you so much, my friend. Let me see. So yeah, Starfield getting nominated. I don't know. It is what it is, man. It didn't get. I don't know what to tell people. It didn't get nominated. And I remember in 2021, I thought Returnal absolutely should have been nominated for Game of the Year. Wait, was Returnal nominated for Game of the Year? I don't think it was. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think in 2021, I absolutely believe that Returnal should have been in the running for Game of the Year, and it just wasn't. And I remember thinking that was kind of crazy. So it happens, man. It happens. I don't know what to tell people. It's just the way this thing goes. But I'll reiterate that it is insane to me. If I was Phil Spencer, I would definitely feel like, oh my God, how do we still not have a Game of the Year nominee with Starfield? Right? How is that possible? It Takes Two. Yeah, dude, I totally forgot about it. It Takes Two won Game of the Year. It just goes to show. With the Game of the Year awards, man, anything goes, dude. Anything goes. MBG's really pushing the knife in deep. No, dude, listen. There are 2 types of Xbox fans, okay? There's the Xbox fan, and then there is the radical Xbox fanboy, okay? The Xbox fan is not throwing a tantrum right now that Starfield is not Game of the Year. The actual Xbox fan might be questioning, that's a shame. It seemed like it could have been in the running. It seems like it maybe should have been in the running, but it is what it is. That's what a normal Xbox fan is saying. The radical Xbox fanboys right now are having fucking meltdowns on the internet because they were out here for months and months and months talking about how this was going to be the game of the generation. It's like practically the second coming of Christ to them, all thanks to Phil Spencer, and Starfield's not part of the conversation. Well, it is in this regard. It's part of the conversation in the sense that it's not part of the Game of the Year nominees. So those people, yeah, fuck them. They deserve this. I'm happy to see that Starfield didn't get nominated in regards to those people because, I mean, goddamn, dude. Talk about looking like a jackass. But we have Michael Lynch here with a $10 super chat, and he says, look at how we accept Xbots on this channel. The truth is, if Xbox players would just get a PS5 and join our community, we would accept them with open arms. We don't hate you guys, just Xbox. Join us. Damn, Michael Lynch going full-blown cult mode here, saying, you better join us. You better get that PS5. You better join us. Pushing polygons. Dude, listen, man. It does not matter. It does not matter. I don't know if you know that. It doesn't matter, okay? People make shit up at this point. People say what they want to say. So I'll say what I'm going to say. I don't mind Xbox fans partaking in the channel and talking. We welcome Xbox fans, right? What Michael Lynch is speaking to here, he's not even saying Xbox fans. He's saying Xbots, as in Xbox fanboys. People who are just looking to cause problems and stir the pot. Trolls. We're not looking to welcome them here because they're just, I don't know, man. It's just the same shit. You already know what to expect, right? So we're looking for people who are willing to accept that neither Sony nor Microsoft are perfect. They both have their ups and they both have their downs, and we all have our preferences. That's all I believe Michael is speaking to here. But yes, he is saying, join us, buy a PS5. I mean, I still recommend the PS5. You know, I did my 3-year review of the PS5 on my last stream, and, you know, there were people replying in the comments, which is fine, saying that they feel like, for as much as they like PlayStation, this generation still doesn't feel like it's quite gotten off to a strong start yet, or is really pushing the boundaries. And I can agree with that. I think that this generation has gotten off to a strange start, all things considered. Maybe that was always going to happen because of the pandemic. But yeah, man, I just think it's a matter of seeing what the remainder of this generation holds, because I like to believe it holds some pretty good things. So, all right, with that being said, Xbox tax is trending? No way. You have to be, Irfan, you have to be screwing with me. That cannot be a real thing that's trending. By the way, Michael Lynch, I really appreciate that super chat. Oh, man. There's no way Xbox tax is trending. That's some wild shit if true. I refuse to believe it. Let me go check. I'll check my Twitter real quick. Is it trending? I see Phil Spencer's trending, but not Xbox tax. So what is this that Jeff Keighley's he's teasing something for the Game Awards? Is this something to do with Fortnite? What? I don't know what this is. I think Jeff Keighley's teasing some type of Fortnite collaboration for the Game Awards, which is okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Irfan, you're saying it is real? What? So, okay. If that's true, again, I haven't seen that, but then again, I haven't been on Twitter that much lately. Xbox tax. What does that mean? Jake Skew, you're saying you just got your PSVR 2. Awesome to hear, man. How are you enjoying it? Got to did I miss something? I don't know. I'm just curious, what is the Xbox tax? What is that? The media bias against Xbox is what it's about. Are you kidding me? That can't, nah. Listen, if that's true, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You're gonna they're actually gonna sit here and talk about media bias against Xbox? Are you shitting me? Dude, the media has been loving Xbox. The media has been praising Xbox this entire year. So I have no idea what they're going on about. I think that they're just, dude, listen, man, I get it. There are just going to be people that are punching air because their favorite game isn't nominated. Guess what? My favorite game isn't nominated either. My favorite game is Final Fantasy 16. It's not nominated. Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see, but who cares? Xbox tax. Get the hell out of here. Xbox needs to make Game of the Year contenders if they want to get nominated for Game of the Year. How about that? Is that good enough for you? Does that work for you? Make Game of the Year contenders, and then you'll be nominated for Game of the Year. Turns out that a game like Starfield in 2023, like maybe if Starfield came out last year or in 2021, maybe it would have been nominated for Game of the Year. But Starfield, again, it came out during a year where the competition is fierce, brutally fierce. So, whatever, man. Xbox tax. Come on, bro. Come on. It's a hidden payment for all the toxicity that Xbox YouTubers and Twitter are responsible for. A hidden payment. There's always a hidden cost, man, for everything. There's always a hidden cost. But saying Hogwarts was robbed of any nominations. So let's actually go over the nominations here, okay? I'm going to save the Game of the Year for last. We're going to work our way backwards here because we obviously have the most to say about the actual Game of the Year nominees, but we have most anticipated game. Okay, most anticipated game. The nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. Damn, Tekken 8 showing up. So what do you guys think? Most anticipated game. You know, what's interesting to me is I think Jeff Keighley, I'm confused why Wolverine isn't on here because Jeff Keighley said that the game had to be announced in order to qualify. Like it had to officially be announced. And Wolverine has officially been announced. So that is quite surprising to me that it's not on this list. But Rebirth is there. Tekken 8. I think a lot of people are excited for Tekken 8. I think for me, Rebirth definitely wins this one easily because I like Tekken. I'm looking forward to Tekken. Star Wars Outlaws, again, it looks really good, just not that into Star Wars anymore. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Hades 2. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gets my vote for most anticipated game here. Just still confused as to why Wolverine wouldn't be on there. Yeah, Rise of the Ronin isn't on there either. There's actually quite a few games that are not on that list. All right, you're saying it's maybe too far away. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that's where. Maybe you had to have a release date or something like an actual release date. Well, no, the Star Wars Outlaws. I feel like Star Wars Outlaws is kind of far away too, though. All right, let's see. The next category here is Best Adaptation: Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Twisted Metal. A lot of good stuff here. So I didn't see everything on here. I did see the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which was pretty good. I mean, I feel like for me, I'm going to have to give it to... Dude, I know this is going to sound crazy right now. I know everybody's going to say The Last of Us. Dude, I almost feel like I got to give it to Twisted Metal. Because I'll tell you why. I feel like making a good adaptation of The Last of Us, it's just too easy. I do. I feel like of course, how do you screw it up? You can't screw it up. It's The Last of Us. Like, it's right there. Just follow it to a T and you have a successful show. Now, I loved The Last of Us. I adore what they did with the adaptation because I really feel like that they captured the essence of what that story was about. And I loved it. But I think I gotta give this one to Twisted Metal because Twisted Metal, out of everything here, haven't seen Gran Turismo yet though, and I've heard that's very good. Twisted Metal shocked the shit out of me, dude. Like, I could not believe how good Twisted Metal was. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's like the best thing I've ever seen, but I went in expecting a dumpster fire, and I walked away after 10 episodes being like, that was really good. I'm looking forward to season 2. I would have never thought that Sony would have won me over on a Twisted Metal TV series or a streaming series, and they did. So I got to give that to Twisted Metal personally, but I do think The Last of Us, I think either The Last of Us or Super Mario Bros. Is going to win this because that Super Mario Bros. Movie did really, really well too. So moving on to the next category here, Best Debut Indie: Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. I've heard really good things about Dredge. I've heard really good things about Pizza Tower. I'm giving it to Pizza Tower. All right, I'm giving it to Pizza Tower. Best Debut Indie, Pizza Tower, okay? Moving right along here, we have Best Multiplayer Game: Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. What do you guys think? Best Multiplayer Game? Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Mario. Baldur's Gate 3. It seems like those are the two that are going to... One of those two is going to walk away with this win. Street Fighter 6. If I had to guess, I think this is going to go to... Super Mario Bros. Wonder. That's what I think. That's my guess here. The next category is Best Sports/Racing Game. So EA Sports FC 24, F1 23, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged, and the Crew Motorfest. Which one are you thinking? Which one are you thinking? I want to see Hot Wheels win. That would be funny as hell. You think the crew's going to win? Hot Wheels winning would be funny. I mean, maybe Forza, but I don't know. Forza reviewed pretty well, but I think that there was some community backlash about the way they handled some of their stuff. All right, so that's what we'll say. We'll just say Hot Wheels for this one. A lot of you guys are saying the crew, though. Maybe we'll just go with the crew. Motorfest. The next one in line here, they have Best Sim/Strategy Game. Advanced Wars 1+2, Reboot Camp, Cities Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. I have not played any of these games, frankly, so I have no idea. I'm gonna defer to the chat here. Which one do you think is most likely to take this? Advanced Wars 1+2, Reboot Camp, Cities Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, or Pikmin 4. Fire Emblem. See a lot of you guys saying Pikmin. A lot of you guys are saying Pikmin. Really? Okay. I guess we'll go with Pikmin then. All right, we'll just go with Pikmin in this one. We'll move right along here. We have Best Family Game, Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Again, this is a tough... any category where I see Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I just feel like that's going to win. Does anybody else get that feeling? Yeah, I think you guys are getting that feeling as well. I'm seeing a lot of you just saying Mario. I'm thinking so too. What that category was? I think Best Family Game. I heard that game Party Animals is actually pretty good too, though. All right, so we'll just say Mario's probably going to win that one. Next up, we have Best Fighting Game, God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. What are we thinking? Street Fighter? Seeing a lot of Mortal... So I did play Mortal Kombat. For me, it's going to be Mortal Kombat just because it's what I played out of all these games. But I also know that apparently Street Fighter 6 is incredible. I didn't play Street Fighter. A lot of you guys are saying Street Fighter 6. Okay. Yeah, given how many people are saying Street Fighter 6 in the chat, I'm going to assume Street Fighter 6 is going to win this category. Because that's a lot. It's a lot of Street Fighter right there. The next one in line, we have Best Role-Playing Game, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. See, Starfield got nominated for something. Unfortunately, it's probably going to lose in this category because look at that competition. Dude, Lies of P. It's nice to see Lies of P nominated for something. I'm looking forward to playing that soon. For me personally, I got to give this to Final Fantasy 16, but I understand that a lot of people are going to give it to Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, if you're a fan of Starfield, you're going to give it to Starfield here. But this one seems like it's going to... See, you got to feel sorry for Starfield, man, because even in the category where it's nominated, look at what it's stacked up against. Baldur's Gate 3, FF16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars. That's brutal. That is brutal. I don't know. Maybe Starfield could win this one. Maybe it could, but I'm thinking this is going to go to Baldur's Gate 3. That's what I'm thinking. I think this is definitely going to go to Baldur's Gate 3, and I would like to see it go to FF16, but I think that's where it's going to land. No Hogwarts. No Hogwarts. So yeah, I'll say for Best Role-Playing Game, my pick is FF16, but I think the winner is going to be Baldur's Gate 3. Best Action Adventure Game, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Oh my God. That is a crazy, like, who wins that one? Spider-Man 2? I mean, yeah, I don't think Alan Wake 2 will win this because I'll be honest, I'm surprised Alan Wake 2 is in here. I can kind of understand why Resident Evil 4 is in here because it is a pretty action-heavy game. Star Wars, I think a lot of people really liked. The Legend of Zelda, I don't know, what do you think here? If I had to guess, I think this is going to be a toss-up between Spider-Man 2 and The Legend of Zelda for best action game. Which one do you think takes it? A lot of you guys are saying Zelda. Yeah. As much as I want to say, like, I feel like any other year, Spider-Man 2 definitely would have grabbed this, but going up against Zelda, yeah, I'm thinking Zelda's going to win this one too. But who knows? Who knows, man? That's the thing, is we're just taking our best guess here. But yeah, that's a hell of a category right there. Okay, so next in line here, we have Best Action Game. Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush. I didn't know Hi-Fi Rush was nominated for something. And Remnant 2. Damn, Remnant 2 showing up here. Best Action Game. What are you guys thinking? Armored Core 6? I'll be honest, I think Armored Core 6 is easily going to win this because it's FromSoft. I do. I think Dead Island 2, I did play Dead Island 2. It was pretty good, but I don't see Dead Island 2 winning. Ghost Runner 2, I'm not familiar with. Hi-Fi Rush, people loved it. Maybe that has a chance. Remnant 2 I did play some of. I don't think Remnant 2 is going to win this. I think it's going to be Armored Core 6. So we'll go with that. Best VR/AR game. We have Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Humanity, Resident Evil Village VR mode, and Synapse. So quite the lineup here. I know I have some VR fans here. Which one are we thinking? Horizon, RE8, GT7. I see a lot of GT7 in the chat right now. A lot of GT7. That's such a tough one, man. I mean, Horizon was really good, but I could understand why GT7 is a standout here, but also Resident Evil Village. I mean, it's the entirety of Resident Evil Village that you can play. Synapse, I heard, was really good too. I don't know, man. I'm stuck on this one. I'm not sure. I see a lot of guys saying maybe it's like kind of a tie between GT7 and RE8. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking either GT7 or RE8 is going to take it. It's nice to see Horizon nominated, though. You think Synapse will win? Maybe we'll just leave this one undecided because it's up for grabs. Maybe I'll just leave it there. I mean, it's a category where I think everybody, well, although nobody seems to be speaking to Humanity, but yeah, we'll leave this one up for grabs. Maybe a tie between GT7 and RE8. All right. The next category here is Innovation in Accessibility. Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like I guess any of these games, truthfully, could take it. Maybe Spider-Man 2 will. But I'm assuming that the reason why all these games are nominated is because they've all done an exceptionally good job at making their games very accessible and having some great accessibility options. I mean, I will say, playing Spider-Man 2, yeah, they have an insane amount of accessibility options for that game. So I can see Spider-Man 2 taking this category, but really I think it's just up for another category where it's up for grabs here. We have Best Community Support. Now this one, there was some controversy with some of these announcements here. some of these nominees. Okay, so best community support: Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, No Man's Sky, and Destiny 2. Yikes. Yikes. Jeff, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Destiny 2 up for best community support. Come on. Not a good look after what just happened. That community is in shambles right now, bro. That community is in shambles, so I don't know that Destiny 2 should be there. It's safe to say, man, it would be so funny if Destiny 2 won, though. That would be funny. But best community support, Cyberpunk's on there. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? I see a lot of you in the chat saying CD Projekt or Cyberpunk 2077 and No Man's Sky. You think GT7 should have been in this category? Yeah, maybe it should have. I saw. I know there's that YouTuber. It's a Gran Turismo YouTuber. Super GT, is that his name? But I like randomly came across a video of his where it got like a ton of views, where he was going over the latest GT7 update and how it like transforms the game. And I don't really play GT, but I was interested in watching it. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe GT7 should have been part of these nominees, but I guess we'll say it'll either go to Cyberpunk 2077 or No Man's Sky. I don't know though. Final Fantasy 14's on there, so that's another one I'll just say is up for grabs. Next up, we have everybody's favorite category: best mobile game. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. And now we're going to move on to the next category, best indie game. Now, there was some drama. There was some drama with best indie game because apparently one of the games... Yeah, I know. I just blew right past best mobile game. Apologies if you're a mobile game fan. I just don't know what to say. Like, honestly, I just don't know what to say. Any one of these games could win and I wouldn't know any different. Hello Kitty could win and I'd say, great. But I know. How dare I? We have best indie game. This had some drama surrounding it because one of these games that I'm going to list is apparently not actually an indie game. And this is where I have to question the integrity of the Game Awards. Jeff, what are you doing, bro? Best indie game: Cocoon, Dave the Driver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. Now, the game here that is not actually an indie game is Dave the Driver. Dave the Driver is actually owned by, I think, Nexon. They're a massive multi-billion-dollar corporation. Very strange. And I think this created a bit of a conversation here where it's like, well, what qualifies as an indie game? And apparently, according to some people, a game that looks like an indie game qualifies as an indie game. What? What the hell is that? Shouldn't we just, keep it simple and make it so that an indie game is a game that is made independently by an independent studio? Hence why we call it an indie game. So strange, man. I mean, this is the type of stuff that makes you take a step back and go, what? Hold on now. That is an indie game. Yes, the definition of an indie game. I know, it's crazy. Who would have thought? So I don't really care that much. I just think it's a weird look. And, hopefully nobody pays too much attention to that. We'll just sweep that one under the rug. If it wins, it's going to be funny as hell, though. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? Cyberpunk, best indie. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You know what? That's so funny to think. I mean, technically, yeah. Technically, it could be. Well, yeah. Holy shit. All right, so next up, we have best ongoing game: Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Genshin Impact. Man, dude, it is crazy to see Cyberpunk on there. That is actually insane because it's not even a multiplayer game. Cyberpunk is not a multiplayer game. I feel like every other game here is. I want to give it to. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I want to give it to Cyberpunk just because it's not a multiplayer game. That's crazy. Final Fantasy 14. Apparently, Final Fantasy 14 is still going strong. People still love it. So, Genshin, Fortnite. I could see Fortnite winning it because of what they did recently. Fortnite had their OG map, and they like broke all these records with people coming in. So, yeah, man, who knows? Maybe Fortnite will take it again. It'd be very underwhelming if Fortnite wins it, though. Genshin Impact. Yeah, I to me, this is another one of those categories where any one of the, I think it's up for grabs. No offense to Apex Legends here. All right, next up. Okay, really quick. What can somebody explain to me? Chad, I need your help here. Can somebody explain? Because I always forget what does games for impact mean? Like, what the fuck does that mean? I need somebody to explain to me what the games for impact. Yeah. Okay. Well, that took a left turn, if you know what I'm saying. I just think that pushing a message. Well, damn. I guess. I just think that's such a strange. I think that's such a bizarre name for a category because it's like, aren't all games trying to have some kind of impact? Thought-provoking, pro-social. That's what it says. Thought-provoking, pro-social. That's a bizarre category. I don't like that. I don't like that category. Something about that category sounds way too pretentious. You know? But here are the games that are listed. A Space for the Unbound. Chance of Sinar. Goodbye Volcano High. Holy shit, Goodbye Volcano High is nominated. They did it. They fucking did it. They made it. I can't believe it. Everybody doubted this game. And here they are. They made it. Chia. Oh, Chia. I forgot about that game. Terra Nil and Venba. So what do you guys think? I don't know. I'm going to give it to Goodbye Volcano High. I refuse to vote in this category. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know which one to vote for. I heard Chia was pretty good. A lot of people when that came out were telling me they actually had a really good time with it. All right, so we'll just leave that one up for grabs. We have Best Performance is the next category. I got something. So I have something to say about Best Performance here. Okay, but let me give you the nominees. Ben Starr as Clive Rossfield from Final Fantasy 16. Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Idris Elba as Solomon Reed in Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Melanie Liburd, sorry, I don't know why I said it like that, Liburd, as Saga Anderson in Alan Wake 2. Neil Newbin as Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So, all right, so there are a couple of things I have to say about this category, okay? First off, it's a tough one because I feel like all of these performances are good, all right? Like, I want to give it to Ben Starr as Clive, but I got to be real about something here. I got to be real about Clive. Okay, Clive is a fantastic character, but I'm just not sure. I don't know. Is it an easy win here? Because I look at, Idris Elba, I feel like that he's actually a real like Hollywood actor. No offense, I don't mean to make it sound like. I just mean he comes from Hollywood. He's in movies. He's well known. How was he? I need to know I didn't play the Cyberpunk DLC. Was he that good? Like, was he good enough to take this category? Because, yeah, Yuri's performance as Peter Parker was pretty good, but I would argue, I'm going to be real right now, Yuri's performance in Spider-Man 1 was better than in Spider-Man 2. It just was. And I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying there were more impactful moments in Spider-Man 2 where I don't know, like Yuri's performance hit me harder in that game than in the sequel. And I don't know that that's Yuri's fault. I think that's just the material he had to work with. But he still did a fantastic job in Spider-Man 2, obviously. I don't know. All right, there's one other thing I got to say here. I'm playing Alan Wake 2. I've not beat Alan Wake 2. I have to be so close to beating this game. I'm actually shocked it hasn't ended, which is a good thing. Like, the game is actually longer than I thought. I cannot believe the voice actress who plays Saga Anderson is up for this. Like, she did a good job. But the actor, I don't know his name, but the actor who played Alan Wake 2, listen, I don't want to spoil anything in this game. There is a segment in Alan Wake 2 where all I'm going to say is this man had to go above and beyond with his performance. He had to go above and beyond with his performance, and I was shocked. I'm like, dude, he is fucking nailing it. He is killing it. And I couldn't believe, I was like, this is genuinely impressive. And don't get me wrong, again, the woman who's doing Saga Anderson is doing a good job, but I'm like, he is going above and beyond. You know what I'm talking about. Come on. If you've played Alan Wake 2, you know what I'm talking about. Yes. Yes, Jake. I mean, come on. Give that man some credit. Look at that. Look at what he was doing. I thought it was so good. It was so good. So I'm just surprised that, you talk about Alan Wake 2 in terms of performance. I really would have thought that the actor who played Alan Wake would have actually been nominated as well. So yeah, dude, credit to oh man, I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, there's a specific mission in Alan Wake 2 where it is truly the most Remedy thing, and I'm like, wow, man, this is I'll just put it this way. It's definitely something I will always remember when it comes to memorable moments in video games. But the Saga's character is pretty interesting too, but she's just, the thing about Saga's character, she's one note. You know what I mean? Mainly, which is fine. I feel like she's supposed to be, but yeah, I could see Clive taking it though, man. I mean, I think that Ben Starr, he did a really good job as Clive. Like he really did. He played a good stoic character at times when he had to, but when he had to show that emotion in the story, I think he excelled. I think he did really, really well. So yeah, I think my vote here, honestly, for as good as all of these performances are, I think it'll have to go to Ben Starr because he really did bring Clive to life, man. Clive will always be a character I remember, certainly. And I see him on Twitter all the time doing stuff, which is so funny. Like, he really kind of leans into the character's fan base, which is nice to see. So next up, we have Best Audio Design. Best Audio Design, Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4. Now, this is another tough one. This is another tough one in my opinion because, well, I see somebody saying Hi-Fi Rush. I could see Hi-Fi Rush winning this. I haven't played Hi-Fi Rush, so it's difficult for me to speak to it. But I will say the sound design in Alan Wake 2 is very good. The sound design in Resident Evil 4 is also very good. The sound design in Dead Space is very good. The sound design in Spider-Man 2, I mean, any one of these games could win, and it probably would be deserving of it. I think it should go to Alan Wake 2. I mean, it's the sound design in all of these games is amazing. So I don't know, man. For me, it's a tie. See, the thing is, I feel like sound design is more important in horror games. Well, maybe that's an unfair statement. To me, it feels like it is, though. Maybe people would disagree with that, but when I'm playing a horror game, I feel like the sound design, in order for it to truly evoke a sense of fear and dread, I think the sound design has to be on point. Because if you mess up the sound design in a horror game, like you're likely to just ruin the entire experience, you know? Whereas I feel like in like action games, the sound design can have a little bit more leeway. But yeah, dude. Yes. Aaron Yogurt says, meanwhile, Sid's voice actor, am I a joke to you? I can't do his voice, man. He has such a unique voice. But yeah, am I a joke to you? Dude, Sid's voice actor was incredible as well. Yes. Damn. Now you got me all messed up. He should have been nominated too. He was phenomenal. I just loved his voice, man. I'll be honest. Like, I think he was I don't know, man. He was a perfect choice for that role. I don't know the name of his voice actor. I've seen him in a movie, though, recently. Funny enough. But for best audio design, for me, it's like a three-way tie between Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, and Resident Evil 4. I think they're all amazing in how they utilize sound to evoke fear and dread. Definitely. So we have best score and music. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. In my opinion, Final Fantasy 16 easily wins this category. Frankly. The soundtrack in that game is just, it fucking blows you away. It does. No offense to any of these other games. Again, I'm playing Alan Wake 2. It has a great soundtrack. But yeah, dude, Final Fantasy 6, just so to highlight how important the score in Final Fantasy 16 is, when you are fighting these insanely just over the top boss battles, that music like makes half that battle. That's how important it is. So yeah, man. I give it to Final Fantasy 16. I'd be surprised if it doesn't win, honestly. You guys are saying Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard this. See, that's why it's tough for me to be able to determine which one is likely to win, because I don't know. I haven't heard the score of some of these games. Like, some people might say Hi-Fi Rush, some people might say Baldur's Gate 3, Zelda. But for me, I'm going to give it to Final Fantasy 16. Let me see here. We have, what's the next? Best Art Direction. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Best Art Direction. I don't know what I'm about to do here. Take a sip of coffee, that's what. Best Art Direction, Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. What are we thinking here, guys? What are we thinking art direction-wise? Saying Alan Wake 2? Lies of P? They're both very strong contenders, I think. Yeah. Mario. Hi-Fi Rush has a pretty unique style as well. I think I'm going to have to give it to Alan Wake 2 just because there are some there's some areas in Alan Wake 2 that to me really stand out. Like, it just has specifically when you're playing as Alan Wake in his section of the game, there's just this very, I don't know, it frankly, it brings me back to the original Max Payne. I just want to say, yeah, like, has anybody kind of picked up on, I feel like Remedy is kind of teasing what a modernized 2024, 2025 remake of Max Payne 1 it could look like, or is going to look like. I really got that sense in Alan Wake 2. And I will say, like, even when I'm playing a saga in some of these areas where I'm going through these wooded areas and it's just, there's like this dense fog, and I think I got to give it to Alan Wake 2 personally. But I could see any of these games again. A lot of I could see any of these games taking it. All right, so next up we have Best Narrative: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now this one I feel like is going to be, this is another heated battle right here, man. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16. And Alex Casey is the model. Yeah, I know. Alan Wake 2 easily. I will say I am enjoying the narrative of Alan Wake 2 a lot. I got to say, like, it's a very intriguing narrative that is doing things differently, but Final Fantasy 16's again, man, it just has this this is a tough one for me. Spider-Man 2 had a good narrative, but I'll be honest, I don't know that Spider-Man 2 was enough. Like, for as good as it was, I don't know that it surpasses Final Fantasy 16 or Alan Wake 2. The problem with this here for me is I haven't beaten Alan Wake 2 yet. So I have to complete this game to know for sure. And I'll know. Like, once I complete Alan Wake 2, I'll know for sure if that's my, like, if I would consider it like that's the best narrative I've played this year. But I think for now I'm going to have to lean towards Final Fantasy 16 because, I mean, a lot of great characters, a lot of great moments, a lot of really powerful story moments. The ending of the game, I mean, it hit me kind of hard, I think it was a really solid ending. And at the beginning of the game too, man, damn. I mean, the whole thing. I think for now I'm going to have to give it to Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, that's true, Josh. That's absolutely true. I forgot about that. Good stuff. Saying MBG said he likes Final Fantasy 16 more than Spider-Man. I mean, yeah, dude, I got to say, it shocks even me. Like, I was always excited for Final Fantasy 16, but I honestly would have never thought that Final Fantasy 16 would end up being a game of the year over something like Spider-Man 2. But then again, it's like, well, it just goes to show Square Enix, they know what they're doing with Final Fantasy at this point, I think. So, saying it's not a bad game, it's a super safe game. Yeah, I get. To me, I think that's the thing about Spider-Man 2 is I don't mind that it's a super safe game. I don't. I just, in a year like this where there are other games that are not playing it super safe, like Final Fantasy 16 was not playing it super safe, in my opinion. Alan Wake 2 isn't playing it safe. I mean, the one thing I will say too, I got to give this credit to Alan Wake 2, where Alan Wake 2 is doing like the way it's telling its story is so different than anything I've ever played. And again, I don't know where this hate is coming from for Alan Wake 2. It's very, like, and I'm not saying from you guys, I'm just saying in general, I see people like kind of hating on this game, and I keep waiting to experience something in the game that makes me like feel like, oh, okay, I kind of see why people are annoyed with this game or not, is it? But I don't know, man. I'm thoroughly impressed with Alan Wake 2. And I just think that the way Remedy's telling a story is very unique. Saying wait till the ending. I mean, I'm excited, man. I'm trying not to rush through it, but Alan Woke. Dude, I'm just saying, man, I don't fucking understand. Like, what do you mean? Like, why are people saying Alan Wake 2 is woke? Like, dude, I'm fucking playing it. Alan Walks. That's a pretty funny one. Alan Walks. You know what I like too about Alan Wake 2? The puzzles are not super annoying. Got to give them credit on that. Like, I feel like any game that's puzzle heavy, and I hate puzzles. I'm on thin ice when I encounter a puzzle because it's like this is either going to annoy the shit out of me immediately or it's actually going to be something that doesn't feel annoying. And so far, so far, I haven't gotten super annoyed. To be honest, the thing I've gotten most annoyed about in Alan Wake 2, and I think this is the weakest part, again, I haven't completed it, but from what I've played, are the boss battles. I feel like the boss battles, I understand why they're designed the way they are, but I just feel like they're just not very fleshed out. And I just, there was like this one boss battle without spoiling anything, but I kind of got stuck in a save state where I progressed enough in the battle where I had just a tiny sliver of health, had no healing items, and it kept every time I kept dying, it kept loading me right back to that spot, and I had no way of healing. So I just had to figure out a way to just navigate the remainder of that boss battle and cheese it a little bit as best I could because I just had no health. But then again, I guess maybe that is the nature of survival horror games, right? It's my fault for not having any health items. So, but yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. You're saying they say Alan woke because the saga was a white character in the first introduction MBG. I don't care personally to it. Oh, I didn't know that. Wait, hold on. I thought. Are you sure? The first introduction of Saga. Well, I don't know. The first time I ever remember seeing Alan Wake 2 was actually announced at the Game Awards, and it was with the actor who's playing Alan Wake, and it just kind of showed him in the street lighting a flare. That's as far back as I go. Saying she was originally a white woman. Well, yeah, but I don't know, man. But why? But my question is like, why are people gonna let that ruin it for them? Like why would you? I just don't understand why people would be hung up on that. Like, who cares? Like, the fucking woman is doing a good job acting the role. The writing is good. I think the writing's good. Like, the story is engaging. It's like the game is good. I just don't understand why people would allow such a dumb thing unless you're not. I mean, look, if you're just saying, hey, she was originally white, now she's not, but you're still loving the game, then okay, I'm assuming that's correct. I'd have to look at. I didn't know that if it's true, but I don't know, man. The game is good, I think, and I just think people should be willing to give it a chance. Where it's like, I have a really firm belief that, and I would just love for this to be like, I don't know that there would be any way to actually test this, but I really do believe deep down that if people didn't have access to the internet, right? If they didn't have access to the internet and other people's opinions, a lot of the stuff that they claim to hate, if they just experienced it firsthand with zero, like just no outside input, none, they'd probably walk away being like, oh, that's actually pretty good, or that was fine. I really do think people are being greatly influenced by everything around them, to a heavy degree. I do, because I did see people kind of talking about Alan Wake 2, and I'm like, like what am I walking into here? And I'm like 20 hours into the game, and I'm like, I'm really glad I didn't listen to anybody on this one because it's very good. Like, it's a very, very well made game, and I'm enjoying it. Look up Sweet Baby Inc. Yeah, people keep telling me about that. Maybe I'll have to look into it. Well, I will tell you if that company, or because people keep bringing up that company, if that company has anything to do with this game, I'm not sure in which way. I mean that sincerely. Like, I'm just playing the game, and I'm not sure in which way. Like, I'm not sure what they did to the game exactly to make it so problematic. Saying the problem is devs want to push an agenda. Well, I'm not going to get in on that conversation again. But look, all I'm saying is, putting everything else aside, if you just want my opinion, right? Like, yeah, I mean, Dan, that's where I stand. If you want my opinion, I'm playing Alan Wake 2. I'm close to beating it. I've enjoyed it very thoroughly. It's not a perfect game, you know. There's some flaws certainly, but I mean, one of the things that I really do appreciate in games is a narrative that keeps me engaged. I mean, really engaged. Like I'm kind of hooked. Like I really am very interested to see what happens next. And I feel like Remedy has done a really good job here with this because I'm not exactly sure where it's headed. I'm very. I am a little bit nervous. I won't lie. I am nervous as I'm getting closer to the end of Alan Wake 2. That is it going to like the ride has been so enjoyable. It's been a roller coaster ride, and I feel like this is where the tough part comes in. Like, are you going to nail that ending? Because that to me is the part that it lives or dies by for a lot of people. Josh Z, you're saying with a $5 super chat, Final Fantasy 16 was the most I have been invested in a story for that series since 9. I don't think that is a fluke. The fact that it wasn't nominated. Yeah, I agree, man. I put over 100 hours into Final Fantasy 16. And I mean, I was coming off of playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake. So I was fully expecting Final Fantasy 16 story to be like, I mean, I don't know if underwhelming is the right word, but not as gripping. Like, I just wasn't going to care as much. But no, man, they nailed it. They absolutely. I think the actor who played Clive should probably, you know, I think he's a good candidate, certainly, like a good nominee here, where I could see him easily winning it, and I could see Final Fantasy 16 winning Best Narrative. So I agree with you, Josh. And I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to how it stacks up against, you know, previous Final Fantasy entries, but they won me over for sure. All right, let me see. You're saying games used to be to escape from reality. Now every dev wants their game to be political, will be the death of gaming. What if I told you that games were always had political agendas? You're only noticing it now. Just a thought. Just a thought. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I'd have to. I think that would make for a very interesting. I don't know. We should look into that. I do wonder if some of the game, like it's funny because like the Metal Gear Solid series is like one of the most political series. Like it's like one of the most political games ever, and it's like, dude, there's like themes and messages. Some I agree with, some I do not. But I never. The thing is, I just took it for what it was. You know what I mean? I just like I remember hearing that Death Stranding is a pro-life game. It's a pro-life game, and I'm like, okay. I mean, that could have been a political agenda that Kojima put into this game. I don't care. Like, even if that is what, like, I don't care either way. It's like, I like what you're doing here. This is very interesting. And I think BB's adorable, and this is great. You know, I'm playing Father Norman Reedus here. Let's go. Let's go deliver some packages with my baby here. It's it's so funny, man. Like, it's just the shit that people could try to find, you know. Atari Combat was political. It could have been. It could have been, man. Am I lagging right now? I'm seeing some people saying it's lagging. Did I get a lag spike? Elden Ring was political. It's all political, bro. GTA's political. All right. Let's keep this moving along here. Where did I leave off here? Okay, so I think we ended with Best Narrative. Next up, and we are in the final two categories here. Best Game Direction. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. What are we thinking here, guys? What are we thinking? Best Game Direction. Baldur's Gate 3. Zelda. Seen a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. Dave the Driver. Yeah, I don't know. This one's tough as well. Best game direction. I could see Baldur's Gate 3 winning this one as well. I could. Like, I think all these games are... They could all win easily. But I think this is where you're going to... Because, you know, I feel like either Zelda or Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win. Is Final Fantasy 16 up there? No, it's not, dude. I mean, that's another category where I'm like, what? Like, what? How is Final Fantasy 16 not up for best game direction? I mean, they directed the shit out of that game. I don't know, man. I don't know. But maybe we'll settle on Baldur's Gate 3 here. And then last but certainly not least, Game of the Year 2023, guys. The moment we've all been waiting for. Here are the nominees. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. What a bloodbath. What an absolute bloodbath. Nintendo up there with 2 nominees. 2 nominees. All right, we need to have this conversation right now, people. We need to have this conversation right now. Should a remake be nominated for Game of the Year? That is the question. You know what? That's such a good question. I'm going to make a poll. Hold on. Save your answers. I'm going to make a poll. Oops. All right, here we go. Vote on this poll. Should a remake be nominated for Game of the Year? RE2 was nominated. Was it? I don't remember. I just see the thing that stands out to me this year, though, is that, dude, Resident Evil 4 as a remake is being nominated in front of like other games. Like, dude, Resident Evil 4 is being nominated over Final Fantasy 16, bro. Let that sink in. Over Final Fantasy 16. You're saying yes, but you have to greatly change it from the original? I'm just curious to see what you guys are voting on here. So let me give you my opinion on this. I do not think... This is such a tough question, truthfully, I think. How do I close this damn poll? It's taking up my chat box. My gut tells me that a remake should not be up for Game of the Year. That's what my gut tells me. And here's why. See, somebody said a remake should only be up for Game of the Year if they change the game like almost completely from what the original was, right? Do you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like a reboot, not a remake. That again, I don't think there's any right or wrong here. Just to be clear. Like, I don't think you're wrong if you say a remake should count. What is Final Fantasy VII? Yeah, see, well, I mean, fuck, man, like that. Now you have to wonder if maybe it's just the naming conventions here. Maybe we're getting into the semantics of it. Because you're right, it is called Final Fantasy VII Remake, but they could have said this is a reboot of Final Fantasy VII, or maybe not. Maybe it's only a remake in the vein of we got to stick to the story. I don't know. A reimagining. Okay, yeah, there you go. There you go. That's the word I think I was looking for. Reimagining. You're saying a reboot should be disqualified on the same principles as remakes. Yeah, this is just so tough, man. I don't know. I just want it to be known that, dude, Resident Evil 4 is one of my all-time favorite games. Like, I would be okay with Resident Evil 4 winning Game of the Year. Because I'd be like, yeah, that game fucking rules. But there's just this part of me that's like, damn, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle, you know? I feel like I'm kind of in the middle here where it's like, a part of me is totally okay with remakes being nominated, but another part of me feels like, is it kind of unfair, though, to like other more original games? But does that matter? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Knowing that Resident Evil 4 is in place of a game like Final Fantasy 16 is that's tough. That's tough. That's a tough pill for me to swallow. You're saying like Modern Warfare 2019 should not qualify for Game of the Year because COD 4 exists. Yeah, good point. Good point. So I guess maybe we have to look a little bit deeper then. Look a little bit, kind of zoom in. All right, Resident Evil 4 Remake. I played it. I don't know how many of you guys played it, but do you think it did enough to, to warrant it like being nominated for Game of the Year? Like, it feels very, very, very different. It's very different in a lot of ways from the original Resident Evil 4. It's like not comparable. Do you think maybe is it because you have to think about like a game like The Last of Us Part 1, right? Like, there's no way The Last of Us Part 1 last year could have been up for Game of the Year. That would have been absurd. Everybody would have said that's fucking crazy. Like, there's no way that's up for Game of the Year. And I would have to agree because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's the same. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm saying, like, there seemingly there is this is why I don't envy Jeff Keighley having to run this show, because it's like you have to create certain rules that almost come off as double standards, where it's like, well, this qualifies, but this doesn't, and here are the specific reasons, and it just gets a little bit much. It does. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's the media. I know. I should stop talking like that because Jeff doesn't get to make all the decisions. It is the media. But I guess it just goes to show the complexity surrounding the gaming industry and all these different types of games where it's like, I don't know. It's a conversation worth having, I think, though, just kind of asking the question, like, should a remake be part of the Game of the Year nomination conversation? Jeff is traumatized from the GTA 6 guy. Oh man, something's gonna go down this year. Especially with the anticipation that GTA 6 might actually show up at the Game Awards. Oh my god. Oh man. You're saying not if the game is already 3D. Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah, I mean, I could see that rule being applicable. Jeff's going to get invaded by another dark spirit this year. You hope he updates the security. He has to. Dude, he fucking has to. Come on, man. You kidding me? He'd be crazy not to. Unless he wants it to happen. Maybe secretly Jeff likes this. Not to be so cynical, but maybe he's like, dude, this gets all the attention, man. Needs actual snipers. Gets it. I mean, yeah, you gotta admit, it does get a lot of media coverage. Listen, if it happens again this year, then we will know. We will know that he did not up the security. He's doing this on purpose now. So he's telling me to check the Paul Tassi's article about Starfield and Hogwarts. Let's see. What the hell is this? Back in 2019, when I hosted live at Risky Reels in Fortnite, Donald Mustard and team showed me the potential to bring a community of millions together virtually. It's taken us 4 years and a pandemic to get there, but today's launch of the Game Awards map in Fortnite is... Wait, what? Is just the first step where we can go in the next 10 years of the Game Awards? What is this? This is fucking weird. I guess there's some kind of like thing that Jeff Keighley's doing with the Game Awards. Oh my God, they made Jeff Keighley a Fortnite character. Okay, that's a thing. Collect trophies and get XP boosts. The Game Awards vote in Fortnite. Join us and vote to select the best user-created Fortnite island of the year. Okay. Well, I mean, my natural inclination here is to be very cynical, but at the same time, I can kind of understand. I can kind of understand why they're doing this. It makes sense. All right, let me see. See if I can find this article you were talking about real quick. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. This guy posts a lot. Huh. Yeah, I can't. When was this article posted? He says Starfield landing just one nomination for Best RPG, which it will lose to Baldur's Gate 3, isn't good. Even if this was outside of Microsoft's ownership, an enormous mainline Bethesda game performing like that is kind of unheard of, and I think they have a lot of work to do. Inside the context of Microsoft ownership, it shows Xbox still has a ways to go with bigger non-Forza first-party stuff. Hi-Fi Rush is a big winner, but looking ahead, still a lot to prove. I think Hellblade 2 could do well next year. Halo Infinite should have gotten... That's what I'm saying. I've been saying that, dude. I've been saying that shit forever. Like, where does the confidence come from? It's made up. That's what it is. It's made up by fucking groups of sheep that gather together and have big circle jerks and tell each other what they want to hear. That's what it is. That's where it comes from. All right. Well, God, man, I can't find this article though. Saying remakes should be on their category. Yeah, you know what? Maybe that would be the best way to do it. Maybe that would be the best way to do it. Meet the cheater, pot or kettle. Dude, listen, there's no circle jerks going on here. I'll tell you that. If you've been in my chat, you know, like, not everybody here is saying, yeah, Spider-Man 2 is the greatest game ever made and should win Game of the Year. Okay, we're not all out here just, saying like, hey, everything PlayStation does is gold and should win. No. Is it good for Sony that Spider-Man 2 is nominated for Game of the Year? Of course. Of course it is. Saying search on Google, Starfield and Hogwarts Legacy. Single TGA. Oh, yeah, I found it. Okay. I'll read this in a second. Saying Spider-Man 2 is one of your favorite games, though? Yeah, and that's fine. I'm just pointing out here, though, that, like, you know, it has been annoying as hell. It still is annoying to see, like, dude, I am... all of these people who are crying... Why do my cats do this? Boss. Chill out. Sorry. They always do that, like, randomly in, like, the middle of my stream. All these people crying about Starfield not getting a Game of the Year nomination. It's like, do they not realize, like, how annoying they are? How annoying they've been this entire time? It's their fault, man. It's their fault. They overhype the shit out of... You know, they're quick to talk about Spider-Man 2 and things, but it's like, well, of course. I mean, Spider-Man 2 is a big game. Everybody's going to talk about it, but these people, they propped up, they put Starfield on a pedestal that it didn't belong on. And I'm not saying that they're even wrong for doing that, because it's like, I mean, yeah, it was in development for a long time. It had high expectations, but it's just like, you have to understand that when you're willing to put a game like that on such a pedestal, you got to be ready for when it just doesn't live up to the hype. You know, people can say, like, oh, Spider-Man 2, the same thing happened. No, it didn't. Like, you're confusing people being upset with what they would consider woke political agendas in Spider-Man 2 with a bad video game or a mediocre video game. They're two different things. They're two separate things. I would say that Starfield isn't getting a Game of the Year nomination for one very simple reason. It's not that good. It's not good enough. It's a good game, and people are enjoying it, and people are loving it, but it's not top tier. It's not S tier like some of the best of this year. It's just not in that category. And I just think that I understand why it's difficult for people who have been... You want to talk about pushing agendas? The agenda that has been pushed the hardest this year is from, you know, people wanting to believe that suddenly Microsoft has a Game of the Year contender, right? Like, they had nothing to do with the development of this game, but they now have a Game of the Year contender. Like, I'll tell you right now, if Final Fantasy 16, my Game of the Year personally is from Square Enix, not Sony. Period. End of discussion. It's a Square Enix game. Sony had nothing to do with the development of it other than they funded it, and, you know, they said just worry about the PS5 version. That's it. Sony's not responsible for the greatness that is Final Fantasy 16. But it's my Game of the Year. And that's why I just think it's so funny that so many people who are aligned with a specific brand, that being Xbox and Game Pass and whatnot, you know, now that Microsoft owns them, it's like, oh, well, this is our game now, right? And it's going to be a game of the generation. It's going to be a Game of the Year easily. Okay. Well, what if it's not? You couldn't, I'm trying to say, you could not ask that question. Do you know that? Like, go back to September. You could not ask that question. What if it's not a Game of the Year contender? What if it's not a game of the generation? No, you couldn't ask that question, because if you do, you're just a fucking PlayStation fan. You're a pony. You just hate the game. Well, there you fucking go. No Game of the Year nominee. No nothing. But it's on Game Pass, so I guess you win anyway, right? Here's an article. As per usual, there's a lot of drama about not what games were nominated for the Game Awards in 2023, but what wasn't nominated, or at the very least under-nominated. 2 games keep surfacing in this conversation more than any other. Starfield, which landed a single nomination for Best RPG, and Hogwarts Legacy, which got 0 nominations across the board. These are 2 different issues, but I figured I would cover them both in this post. Starfield. He says there are few different angles here. Starfield really isn't meant to be one of Xbox's flagship games of the entire generation. Starfield is really meant to be one of Xbox's flagship games of the entire generation. An enormous game from Bethesda, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Xbox has out or has even announced at this point, short of Elder Scrolls 6 itself. The goal of all of Xbox's acquisitions is to have a slate of exclusives to compete with Sony, and yet what happened this year? Sony landed a Game of the Year nomination and a whole lot more with Spider-Man 2, and Starfield got 1 single nomination, and not for Game of the Year, a category that it's guaranteed to lose to up against Baldur's Gate 3. Instead, the larger Xbox success story is the out-of-nowhere Hi-Fi Rush with 5 nominations, which is, God, that is fucking insane to think that these guys were propping up the wrong game. Who would have thought that when we came to the end of this year, Hi-Fi Rush would have more nominations than Starfield? That is crazy. That is crazy. But good for Hi-Fi Rush, man. It says here that Starfield is a mainline Bethesda game, formerly a huge moment in gaming, and part of the storied history across the Fallout and Elder Scrolls series, where those games were almost always Game of the Year nominee picks, if not outright winners. But once Starfield reviews rolled in and its Metascore sat at an 83, it seemed like the writing was on the wall that no Game of the Year nomination was coming. That's not great. Yes, this is a competitive year, absolutely, but it's why Starfield needed to stand out even more. I do think the game is a success in the sense that it does have a large, engaged player base and has kept it at the top played Xbox game for months, and even with solid Steam numbers ahead of any real updates, DLC, or even official mod support. But a singular nomination in a subcategory it will lose speaks to broader issues. And I do believe the main takeaway here is that Bethesda's approach to RPGs is starting to feel dated to many. Going forward, I'm sure that Microsoft will have more award-nominated games. Next year's Hellblade 2 is likely to land a few, but in a wider future, based on the projects we know are coming, things like Avowed, Fable, Perfect Dark all seem like black boxes, and the idea that Microsoft wants to put up a yearly Game of the Year contender like Sony and Nintendo usually do as a dream. I think that's a typo. Still feels far away, even if Starfield couldn't do it. It goes on to talk about Hogwarts Legacy here, and it's a lot. Sure, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of obvious with Hogwarts Legacy, you know? But yeah, it's a pretty interesting. I mean, who cares, man? You know? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, man. You can't. That's what I've learned, is that, you know, Xbox players are happy with Microsoft, you know, buying publishers and adding all these games in the Game Pass. They're happy with Game Pass. And that's fine. Like, I'm not here to tell you shouldn't, like, enjoy what you enjoy, right? Who cares about Game Awards? But I just think it's kind of crazy, this idea that you think that Microsoft can do all that and also have, like, Game of the Year contenders. Like, it just, I don't know, like, when these people are going to wake up and realize it just doesn't work that way. There are many things in this industry you can buy, right, in order to succeed on a financial level, on a business level, on a numbers level. But there are just some things in this industry, across every industry, there's just some things money can't buy, man. You just can't. And to me, that's why I think this is the greatest irony, because it's like, I mean, sure, you could say Sony bought Insomniac. Okay, but let me ask you, when did they buy them? They bought them, what, in 2018? Years ago. Insomniac has been, look, almost all of the games they've developed since Spider-Man 2018 have been underneath Sony, under their wing, under their guidance. The studio straight up came out and said that they were made a better studio. Just saying, look, man, I get it. Maybe there's some things money can't buy, but it's a start. So here's what I'll say. Microsoft paid for Starfield. They bought Bethesda. It doesn't mean they're not going to have a Game of the Year nomination at some point. Okay? And who knows? Like, when the Elder Scrolls 6 eventually comes out, it's probably going to be nominated for Game of the Year. I mean, you would assume so, right? So at that point, it will prove, well, see, money can buy you. You can have your cake and eat it too. Well, okay. Okay, maybe you can have your cake and eat it too, but can you really expect it right away? Can you really expect as soon as you want to have your cake and eat it too, it's just going to happen? That's usually not how these things go. So yeah, maybe money can buy things for you in this industry, but it never buys you a guarantee. That's the one thing that remains true no matter what. And I think that that's the biggest mistake that, people made when they just assumed that, well, Bethesda's a talented studio. Starfield is going to be a massive game, and Microsoft just bought them, and now they're owned by them. So I think it's safe to say we might have a Game of the Year, finally, contender. And it's like, well, maybe, but there's no guarantee. Like, there's no guarantee you're going to get your cake and eat it too. You got to be pretty lucky, man. I'll be honest. And that's the thing is, like, to be fair here, Sony is pretty lucky. They are. They are lucky in that after Sony bought Insomniac could have crumbled. Insomniac could have been like they got really lucky with Spider-Man 1, and then Miles Morales was a disaster, and then Ratchet and Clank was mediocre, and then Spider-Man 2 was also mediocre. And then Sony would have been shit out of luck, where it's like, well, you can't have your cake and eat it too, Sony. But that's the thing, is Sony finds this consistency based off of years of slow development, Because sure, we could say, well, Sony bought Insomniac. What about them? Their game is up for game. So Sony bought a Game of the Year contender. Okay, I guess if you want to go back to 2018 and whatever and say that in 2018, Sony bought a future Game of the Year contender. But what about all the other Game of the Year contenders that Sony had over the past 10 years, over the past 5 years, right? 6 years, whatever. They've had multiple. These are not studios that were just bought overnight, bought over the course of 1 year. I mean, these are studios that Sony has owned for years and years and years and has invested in them and grown them and facilitated that. And I'm just sitting here saying that Microsoft could be on that path. But I think people always mistake what I'm saying about Microsoft here is like, look, I'm not celebrating the fact that Starfield isn't nominated for Game of the Year because frankly, I don't give a fuck. I didn't play Starfield. I'm not interested in it. And if you like it, good for you. Enjoy it. I'm not going to tell you what to enjoy. You don't tell me what to enjoy. I'm not celebrating the fact that it's not nominated because it's just like, who cares, man? It's a fucking game. Like, it's just the Game Awards. What are the Game Awards? They're just made up awards, man. They're not real. It's not real. It's not real. It's just, it's the industry getting together and saying, this is the shit we think is the best. That shouldn't determine what you enjoy, what you like. And it certainly shouldn't get you fucking worked up and feeling like, again, I am shocked that Final Fantasy 16 is not nominated, but at the end of the day, I don't care. That's my Game of the Year. And I'll tell you right now, it's a fucking amazing game. And if you feel that way about Starfield, good for you, man. But I am going to look at a certain group of people that have been behaving a certain way for a certain period of time. And I'm going to say, what would you look at that? So it matters to them. But this is why I said earlier, you got to separate like normal, rational, functional gamers from basically insane people. And, when you're on the internet, that can be difficult to do. But yes, both Sony and Microsoft have spent money. They continue to spend money, and they do so in the hopes of acquiring talent. They do so in the hopes of, we want our cake and we want to be able to eat it too. But I do believe that it's not that simple, and it's very rare that it's that simple. You have to get very lucky. I think that Sony has proven that there is a method to buying studios and growing them. I think that Sony has proven that, yeah, you can get aggressive in this industry with money and find success. And I think Microsoft is in the process of also backing that up just on another level. But I just think what it's really going to take for let me get to it here. Let me just cut to the chase. All right. What is it going to take for Xbox to finally have a Game of the Year contender? Here's what I think it's going to take. I think it's going to take them, from this point forward, a number of years to develop their studios, to build them up, to allow them to grow, and to basically become more talented and hone their skills. That's what I think it's going to take. I just don't. It does seem to me like Starfield. The one thing I will agree with this article is it said that Starfield, it feels like it's a bit dated. Like this is like an older group of developers that, like the principles and the philosophies that they're bringing to the table, it's like you're getting a little bit left behind here. Like the industry is kind of beginning to move forward and you're getting left behind. And it seems like that's really the thorn in Starfield's side, where I do believe Starfield in many other, in like 2014, 2015, 2016, I think this would have been a Game of the Year contender. I do. Like probably pretty easily, but it's the luck of the draw, man. Like, your game is finally ready after all this time, and it launches in a window where it's like, oh my God, like good luck, man. Good luck. And, it's funny when you compare it to Spider-Man 2, people could say, well, is Spider-Man 2 dated as well? Well, not necessarily, like not in the same way. You could say Spider-Man 2 is, again, playing it safe, right? Like Spider-Man 2 is playing it safe where it's like, it's doing many things that have been done for many years, and it's not necessarily innovating, but you have to look at the level of refinement, right? You have to look at the technology involved. And look, I'm not saying that to me makes it my Game of the Year. No, I'm just saying those are things that people take into account. I do think that, I do genuinely believe that any game that's going to win Game of the Year, it has to impress people. I mean, it has to genuinely, thoroughly impress people. I think at the end of the day, that is the greatest, that is the greatest measurement as to whether or not a game is going to be a Game of the Year contender. I really do believe that. And I think that when people play Spider-Man 2, there are things that they are impressed by. I think they're impressed by the speed of the game, by, the acting, the performances, I don't know if the gameplay necessarily, but just how it all comes together, where it's like, generally speaking, this game is doing many different things and it's doing them all very, very well. Now, maybe the story doesn't do it for you, or, maybe you're not as into it as other people are, but I just feel like that same thing can be said about every other game that's nominated here, where, again, when we look at the nominees, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I think something that all of 6 of these games have in common is they're all doing many different things. But the key factor is they're all doing them, like everything that they're doing exceptionally well. There isn't like a glaring major flaw with any of these games. And I just don't think the same can be said for Starfield. Maybe you could even say for Final Fantasy, right? Like one of the glaring flaws in Final Fantasy, in my opinion, was the side content. Not all of it, but there was a lot of it. And, you know, I talked to you guys about how that side content really, to me, it did kind of hinder the overall experience. But I just think that this is one of those particular years where there's only 6 spots and you have numerous games coming out. Numerous games coming out that don't have any glaring flaws, or like almost none at all. Maybe like minor flaws at most. So if your game has any glaring flaws, even if it's just one, it's likely going to get knocked out of contention. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is I'm not surprised that Starfield is not nominated for Game of the Year in 2023. But I think more than anything, it's just bad timing, but also not, if that makes sense. Where something that people have pointed out with Starfield is like, yeah, it seems like Bethesda has to change a couple things with their next game. Like they're going to have to make some pretty significant strides going forward. But it doesn't mean their game's bad. But in terms of Game of the Year conversation, it's like, I just don't think it has a chance. I think that's clear. Saying Final Fantasy 16 was significantly better than Starfield. I can't speak to that as I haven't played both. And I'm sorry, Novinzer, I missed your chat here. You're saying Microsoft will take credit for Starfield's success, but won't take credit for how bad COD is right now. I just don't understand that. I mean, there's nothing to understand, Novinzer. It's you take the credit when it's good, you fucking move that shit over to the side when it's not good. I'll be real with you right now, Novinzer. It's because Microsoft is able to do it. They are. Like, this is the only time, because they completed their acquisition just as Call of Duty was releasing. This is the only time they'll be able to say, like, oh, we didn't have any involvement. But after this year's Call of Duty, every year it's going to fall on Microsoft. And, you know, that's just the way it is. They bought them. There's nothing you can do about it. So I don't know. I think Microsoft has a chance. Certainly. I think Microsoft has a good chance to eventually have some Game of the Year contenders, but it will take time. It will. And, you know, this article mentioned Hellblade 2. I'll tell you right now, out of every single studio and every single game that Microsoft has, that game right there is the most likely to be a Game of the Year contender next year. Hellblade 2. Because you're talking about a talented team. You're talking about a team that has had years to develop their game. I mean, many years. They've been working on this game for a long fucking time. And they also are very passionate about the story they're telling and the characters. And I'm telling you, like, that is a game, if it doesn't have any glaring flaws, Hellblade 2 will be a Game of the Year contender. And you know what? That'd be great. That'd be cool to see. It would be honestly pretty cool if Hellblade 2 was the first Game of the Year contender from Microsoft, because I think that would, I mean, I've always had a lot of faith in you know, in that team and in their game, and so it would be very interesting to see. Saying it was a walking sim, it was not. I don't agree. I really enjoyed Hellblade 1. I mean, yeah, there were many slow-paced moments where you're walking around, but Hellblade, I thought it was an excellent game, frankly, and that's why I'm genuinely very interested to see like what they do with the sequel, because it's like, you guys have been working on this thing for a long time, and you've had the support of Microsoft in that time, and that's where I'm saying, like, dude, you know, fuck these guys who hate on me, because they just don't like that I have some negative things to say about Microsoft. Like, fuck those guys, okay? Because you're talking about people who will only ever have good things to say about Microsoft. I will say good things about Microsoft, and I will say bad things because, yeah, Microsoft ain't perfect, just like Sony isn't. I'll tell you this right now. Microsoft has so much opportunity in front of them with these, like the amount of studios they have. If they play their cards right, they could absolutely get to the same level as Sony and Nintendo. It's not going to happen overnight. It's impossible for that to happen overnight. Even if next year Hellblade 2 wins Game of the Year, it's still not 100% there. It's going to take time. That would be an incredible start for them, but they have that opportunity in front of them because they bought that opportunity. When Sony bought Naughty Dog in 2001, they were buying a major opportunity, even if it didn't seem like it at the time. It was a pretty limited opportunity, but an opportunity that, again, they bought this team early on. They were known for like the Crash Bandicoot games. And then eventually, they go on to grow, to learn as developers, and to put games out like Uncharted that eventually lead to games like The Last of Us. And now they're one of the most, they're a little bit more divisive now, but they're still considered one of the most respected, and highly regarded studios out there. And that's what I'm saying. That's just one studio, man. Like, look at all the studios that Microsoft bought. They have that opportunity in their hands. They just have to play their cards right. They have to not fuck it up. This is why I have said to these fucking morons over and over again, where is your confidence coming from? Your confidence is coming from Hi-Fi Rush? Your confidence is coming from Starfield? Your confidence is coming from Grounded, games that were already made and ready to release. These are the games that you get your confidence from. You want to be optimistic, that's fine. Be optimistic. You should be optimistic. Why wouldn't you be? But we cannot confuse optimism with just blind confidence. Okay? And that is the big problem right now, is people are going to tell you that Microsoft, all these things I just mentioned to you, they're going to do them. There is no proof of that. You can have hope and optimism that they will, and you can have a good, strong feeling. But to speak as if they have done this before and they're going to do it again is fucking nonsense. And that is what people need to realize, that is the difference in when you talk about Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. That's why Microsoft is an outlier. Because what Nintendo and Sony have done over the course of generations is prove that they have a very consistent track record. And yes, they both had their screw-ups at times, but they get that shit back on course very quickly. Microsoft has floundered for a long time. Now, you want to go back to the original Xbox days and say, well, what about Halo? Keep in mind, when I say floundered for a long time, that does not mean that they haven't had successes and done good things. They have. Microsoft was doing good things from day one when they started with the original Xbox. They did good things with the 360. They even did some good things with the Xbox One. But when you talk about the ratio of good to bad, positive to negative, especially when you talk about internal game development, Microsoft simply does not hold a candle. And I am so tired of these disingenuous people talking about games that were already greenlit and practically finished as an indicator of what Microsoft is capable of. The games that are going to come out in 2024, 2025, and 2026, these are going to be the games that determine if Microsoft actually has what it takes. I already told you, I'm not going to blame Microsoft for this Call of Duty because they didn't develop this. This wasn't underneath their management. This was underneath Activision's management. And hell, even next year's Call of Duty, man, even if next year's Call of Duty is a disaster, it'll look really bad for Microsoft. But even then, Microsoft would have only had a year to handle that game. But, it is what it is. I can't listen, I can't really do it. Of course, I can't do anything about people who want to have this mentality. I just wish that people would realize that it's fine to have optimism and it's fine to feel good, but we need to, like, I think, temper these conversations where because keep in mind where this conversation that we're having right now, where it stemmed from. Where did it stem from? It stemmed from Starfield not getting nominated for Game of the Year when so many people thoroughly believed it would. And it obviously generated a very toxic conversation online where there's people are going at it right now, fighting over this shit. But to me, this is the exact reason why all the people who have all this confidence, be optimistic. Don't necessarily have blind confidence, because it's just hope for the best, be prepared for the worst, man. That's what I'm trying to say, because Microsoft has not proven shit. Like, I don't know why people look at Hi-Fi Rush and are like, see what Microsoft did? No, they did not. Microsoft had nothing to fucking do with Hi-Fi Rush's development. You can thank Bethesda for that. You can thank Bethesda's management for that. You can thank Tango Gameworks' management. Hi-Fi Rush has nothing to do with Microsoft other than this. The only credit you can give Microsoft is they didn't fucking cancel it. Which, yes, that's a positive, because clearly, look, 5 nominations, man, Microsoft would have been crazy to cancel that shit. Now, Hellblade 2. When Hellblade 2 comes out, Microsoft will have had everything to do with Hellblade 2. When Avowed comes out, Microsoft will have everything to do with Avowed. Right? When Fable comes out, Microsoft will have everything. Do you see what I'm saying? All of this shit has been years in the making, and the games that Microsoft is actually responsible for, we haven't seen yet. That's the craziest shit, dude. We haven't seen these games yet that Microsoft is responsible for. And you know what? I'm not even rooting against it. If anything, if you were to ask me, okay, MBG, even if we believe what you're saying and we say you're right, what is your expectation for these games? You know what my expectation is? I think they're all going to be pretty solid. There's nothing in front of me that tells me, wow, man, Avowed's going to be a fucking dumpster fire. No. The only thing I see is it might not be as big or as massive as maybe something like The Elder Scrolls, but it'll probably be a solid, good game. Everything I'm seeing about Hellblade looks like it has a ton of potential. Fable, we'll have to wait to see gameplay of Fable, but it's in what I would consider possibly good hands, right? Like Playground Games, they're a talented studio. State of Decay 3 is more unknown. I want State of Decay 3 to be good. I really do. I really fucking want that to be a good game. Dude, if State of Decay 3 could end up being the highest rated Microsoft game ever, that would be fucking incredible. What these people don't like is that I am not willing to just fucking bend the knee and say, yeah, Microsoft is great now, guys. That's what they don't like. They feel like I'm not giving credit where it's due, but they're the ones that are wrong, because where is this credit due? I really need to know. Am I not giving Microsoft enough credit for Starfield? How much credit should I give Microsoft for Starfield? Should I give them all of the credit? Is that what they're saying I should get? Because if that's true, then I'll say it seems like they fucked up. Do you see what I'm saying? So let me get this straight. You want me to give all the credit to Microsoft for Starfield? If that's true, they fucked up. Because this is not a game of the generation. This is not a game of the year. This is the lowest rated Bethesda game? So you want me to give that credit to Microsoft? Or would you prefer I separate that and say that's actually not Microsoft's fault? That's Bethesda. Microsoft can work to correct that. Something tells me most of them are going to say, yeah, we should probably not give Microsoft all the credit because, Because why? Because they don't deserve all the credit. Yeah, and that's not even Microsoft's fault. It's just the way it goes, man. Microsoft, the most credit Microsoft should get, in my opinion, for Starfield is they bought them and they gave them development support. And that does matter. Microsoft very well could have been the reason, they probably are the reason why this game was not nearly as buggy as it could have been, or maybe was expected to be. I will give them that. And I think that's good credit to give Microsoft. But it's just insane to me how there's this narrative now where it's like, well, Microsoft gets credit for because Navinzer, this is where you're pointing it out. Like, are Xbox fans going to take all the Xbox fans who want to give Microsoft all the credit for Hi-Fi Rush, for fucking, Grounded and all these games that were already done, Psychonauts 2, and just ready to release, Starfield, in development for years before Microsoft owned them. Okay, you're gonna give credit to Microsoft for Call of Duty now, sitting at a 53 on Metacritic. Are you going to? Because you should. Because the same exact logic applies if that's the direction you're gonna go in. But no, they won't. Instead, they'll probably clip me. They'll react to this and they'll just fucking argue. Blah, 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 no, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Okay, well, fine. We'll see what happens. I'm not necessarily even betting against Microsoft at this point. I'm just waiting and watching. You thought they'd be out with pitchforks by now. Dude, don't even get me... Dude, they're just making shit up at this point. That's the craziest thing. Like, they're literally making shit up. They're like, MBG said this. I literally didn't say that thing. Like, what they claim I said doesn't exist. But they say it anyway. Xbox's luck, though, MBG, Redfall, Modern Warfare 3, and Starfield. That's wild. Yeah, well, it's all in the name of game. I don't think it's that. It looks worse than it is, but it's all in the name of Game Pass. And when you view it through that lens, that this is like everything is in the name of Game Pass, it's really not that big of a deal. As crazy as that sounds. Like, here's what people need to understand. Okay, this is the truest thing I'm going to tell you right now about this entire conversation. Phil Spencer and Microsoft don't give a flying fuck about the Game Awards and whether or not they have a Game of the Year contender. They do not give a fucking shit. Do you know why? Because they are out here spending $68 billion like it's fucking nothing. They are not worried about whether or not they're winning Game of the Year. They are out. They have their eyes on the prize. This is why Xbox fans sound like rabid animals these days. Because they know this. They know that Microsoft is out to fucking win, dude. They're gonna blow fucking past critic reviews. They're gonna blow past Game of the Year nominations. I don't know why. I don't know how many people don't see this yet, but they don't give a single shit about winning Game of the Year, man. Because let me ask you, at the end of the day, when it comes to their business of gaining, subscribers and giving you a better deal and owning more studios and having a shit ton of intellectual property, what does that really matter? It doesn't. It matters way more to the online conversation than it does to the business that they're trying to run at the end of the day. And that's the reality. That's the reality, man. Dale, you're saying, what's an obscure game you love, MBG? I've been playing Poi Poi by Konami on PS1, and it's like a basic version of Power Stone. Hello from Australia. Well, I appreciate that. An obscure game I love. I'd have to really think about that, dude. What makes that so? I have horrible memory, which makes it really tough to even answer that question. I have to think really far back because I know I played some obscure shit, man. Oh, okay, all right. I don't. So you tell me how obscure this is. I don't know. See, it feels obscure to me because it was way back. Like what some of my first days even gaming. I remember way back. This had to have been in like the mid '90s or the late '90s. I had this old ass Windows computer, and I didn't really know I didn't know how to work it. I was just kind of figuring it out, you know. And there were these games called like Army Men or something, where I think they were like strategy games, and you basically had like the green army men, and they had like all the different colors, the green, the tan, the blue. I think it was, I don't even remember who it was developed by. Do you guys remember this? Please tell me. See, if nobody can recall this, then it must be obscure. I think it was developed by 3DO. Let me see. 3DO Army Men. Yeah, here. Oh my God, I see it. Yeah, I played these games on the PS1 as well. Army Men, Plastic Combat, Army Men 2, Sarge's Soldiers. Dude, this has to be the most obscure, some of the most obscure games that I played that I really enjoyed as a kid. Yeah, they're late 90s, early 2000s. I have a lot of good memories with those games. Is that obscure enough for you, Dale? That's like, because I was like thinking, like, I know there's these random ass games I played growing up. The kitchen level. Oh my God, dude. And there was like the spiders and shit. Good times. Good times. Yeah, that was a different era, man. But Dale, it's okay. I appreciate the question, man. It's definitely something different. Change things up a little bit here. I know. I'm going on some tangent about Microsoft. You know, that dude, the funniest thing are like the Xbox fans that are like, stop talking about Xbox. All he does is talk about Xbox. Like, go fuck yourself. I'll talk about what I want. You clip me, you show up here, you listen to me. You listen to me, period. You can laugh at me, you can make jokes, you disagree, but you listen to me. Don't forget that. You listen to what I say. Okay? When I talk about Xbox, because I fucking live up here. And that's the truth, man. That's the hard truth that they don't want to accept. But it's okay, because truthfully, I am going to be talking more about Xbox. You know why I'm going to be talking more about Xbox? Because I love the fact that they don't like I talk about Xbox. They don't like that I talk about Xbox. I'll just keep talking about it more. Just more. No, I'm just kidding. That's not actually why I'm going to keep talking about Xbox. I mean, it is kind of funny. But truthfully, the reason why I'm going to keep talking about Xbox is because I am more interested in what they're doing going forward now. Not necessarily in the Call of Duty Activision stuff, but I want to see how their games turn out. Specifically, Hellblade 2 and State of Decay 3, man. These are the things I want to see. And let's give a major shout out to Smurf for the win, who comes in out of nowhere as I'm going on my insane tangent. Smurf for the win comes in and he drops 10 membership gifts. He just drops a 10 bomb out of nowhere. Wasn't expecting that, Smurf. And guys, you're already going crazy in the chat with W's. So Smurf, I really got to thank you for that, dude. That actually brings us up to, what is that? 22 members on the day. So just 3 away now from actually hitting our goal, which is amazing to see. Smurf, man, I really do appreciate that support, buddy. It does mean a lot. You know, I do enjoy having these conversations with you guys. So good stuff, guys. What else should I give him here? I'll give him Crazy Arnold, because we're going crazy over here. Also, I like the I like the Chewbacca profile picture there, man. So good shit, dude. Good shit. By the way, guys, take a second out of your day, if you don't mind, and just hit that like button for me. Just hit that like button for me. You're saying it had been a couple of months. Crazy Arnold is your favorite. Well, there you go, man. I'm glad. I'm glad I gave you that Crazy Arnold. I appreciate it, bud. I whether you're supporting every stream, every couple of streams, or when you can, it all means a lot, man. So appreciate it. But yeah, it's going to be fun to see where Xbox goes, because one thing I will say, and again, I know that the people who, for some reason, don't like anything I have to say will never acknowledge this, but they do have more potential than they've ever had, just for the sheer volume of studios they have and developers. One of them's got to produce something good, right? I think it's going to happen. I do. And Toolman55 does it. He comes in and he drops 5 more memberships. Toolman, I really appreciate that. It's worth noting Toolman actually re-upped his membership earlier to Play Has No Limits, and now he decided he wants to also gift some memberships here as well to the community. So let's get some W's flowing in the chat, and he actually helps us crush the goal today. The goal was 25 members, and you guys did it. We're now sitting at 26 members. So congratulations, guys. You did it. You did it. W's in the chat for not only Toolman, but just this entire community for once again crushing another goal. That deserves another holy shit. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And let me go check my poll here. Let's see. You're saying watch out for the troll gifters. Dude, some people who are here to troll actually do get gifted a membership, and that is just the saddest thing, because I've always said that the people who are going to get gifted memberships are the ones that interact the most with the channel. And that to me is very telling. But my poll here, I put it out about an hour ago. Should a remake be nominated for Game of the Year? 417 votes, 44% say yes, 56% say no. So it's pretty evenly split here. I mean, more people saying no than yes, but still. So it kind of, divisive thing. We also have Game Over Cholo, a member for 5 months, says, how do you feel about next year's Game Awards? I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Rise of the Ronin, Death Stranding 2, games as a service like Helldivers 2 and hopefully Tsushima 2 might get some nominations. Well, I will say this. I do not think Ghost of Tsushima 2 is coming out next year. I want to make that clear. As much as I would love it to, I think we're going to get an announcement of Ghost of Tsushima next year, but we're not going to get it coming out. So I don't think that's going to be part of the Game of the Year conversation. Helldivers 2, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm really curious to see how this game ends up reviewing. I think I could see Helldivers 2 kind of, I know this sounds kind of shitty, but I don't imagine it being a standout game. I could see it kind of being relatively forgotten about as the year progresses, because I think 2024 is also going to be an insane year for games. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth absolutely, I think, will get multiple nominations. It could actually also be in the running for Game of the Year. I could definitely see that. Rise of the Ronin, I think, is a big question mark, mainly because Rise of the Ronin looks like it could be that game that takes things to the next level from Team Ninja. And I think Team Ninja is already really well respected, but I could see it surprising people, man. Death Stranding 2, that's a big question mark as well. I do believe Death Stranding 2, when it launches, is going to make some waves. I just have this, I don't know, I have this feeling with Death Stranding 2 that it's going to surprise people more so this time than the first time around. And I just get this feeling that Kojima wants to, I don't know, I just feel like I get this feeling he just wants to kind of leave another mark. I mean, he's already left so many marks on this industry, but he's getting older, and I think he's becoming more aware of the fact that he probably has fewer and fewer games left in him, obviously. So knowing that Death Stranding 2 is going to be one of the bigger games he ever makes, I think he's going to want to do something big with it. That's my assumption anyway. So all games that we could definitely be talking about this time next year, man, which would be exciting. So I will say 2024 seems like it's going to be a crazy year again for games, certainly. Many, many games that haven't even been announced yet that are actually going to be coming out next year, which is always a fun time. We have Pushing Polygons, member for 7 months. He says, MBG, what are your top 3 games of this year, and what are your top 3 you're looking forward to in 2024? What would you Like, what would you like to show up at the Game Awards? I'm going to answer the last part first here. What I would like to show up at the Game Awards is from Sony. I'm going to say from Sony specifically. I'm open to pretty much anything showing up, generally speaking. Like, I'm ready to be delighted and surprised. But from Sony, I would like to see Death Stranding 2. I would like to see this rumored God of War DLC. And this might be asking for too much because I feel like maybe asking for 3 things is too much. But I would like to see, trying to be realistic here. God, I don't know. Again, trying to be realistic, I would like to maybe see another update on Rise of the Ronin with a release date for early next year. Something like that. I would say, like, I want to see a new game announced, like Ghost of Tsushima 2 or Sony Ben's new IP. I mean, if Sony wants to shock the shit out of everybody and drop a bomb, go for it. But I'm just trying to be realistic. And I think if we get 1 or 2 of those things I listed, I would be pretty happy with that. So let me answer your other questions, though, really quick. My top 3 games of the year so far. Well, number 1 is Final Fantasy 16. Number 2, I got to think here. So I really, and I know this is going to sound like recency bias, but I really think Alan Wake 2 is going to take that number 2 spot because it is definitely doing it for me. Alan Wake 2. Number 3, I mean, I want to say Spider-Man, but I'd have to think a little bit harder about this, because there are a lot of games I played this year, and I feel I'm afraid if I say Spider-Man at number 3, I'm afraid I might be falling into recency bias. But I mean, that's the thing is like Resident Evil 4 was topped. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 was like S tier for me. And when I sit back and I think, which game did I actually enjoy more, Spider-Man 2 or Resident Evil 4? I mean, I really did enjoy Spider-Man 2, but Resident Evil 4 is one of my all-time favorite games. I feel like the number 3 spot might be Resident Evil 3. Or 4, sorry. I don't know, man. Maybe it's like tied up. But that's the best I got for you right now. Top 3 games I'm looking forward to in 2024. Well, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No, like undoubtedly, right now is number 1. Number 2, I would say Wolverine, but I have no idea if Wolverine's coming out. So, God, what game? You know what? Now that I'm thinking, what games are confirmed for 2024? I mean, let me see. 2024 confirmed games. Let me see. I'm looking through the games that are confirmed. I mean, I like Tekken, but I don't know if I could put Tekken up there as like my top 3. There's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. What else? God, there are so many games announced, but no release dates yet. I'm like looking through the list now. It's actually overwhelming. I mean, that's the thing is like Death Stranding 2 would 100% be my number 1. But I have no idea if it's actually targeting 2024. So I'll just play it loose here. I'm going to say Death Stranding 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I know I'm pushing it, but Wolverine. I know I'm really pushing it with Wolverine. And if Wolverine doesn't make it, then I'd say Silent Hill 2 Remake. That's what I would say at this point. Those are my 3 most anticipated. Not necessarily in that order, although I do think Death Stranding 2 would be number 1. In case you can't tell, I really am hoping we see more of Death Stranding 2. I hope it doesn't disappoint. Right? I mean, Rise of the Ronin could be up there too. But yeah, man, a lot of good games coming. At least it seems that way. Let me see here. All right. Come on, MBG. You know you're looking forward to Suicide Squad. I mean, I'm willing to see what changes they're gonna make to it, but I'll tell you right now, man, like it is not on my radar. And I'm not saying that because like I want to hate on it, but it's just, oh yeah, and GTA. I mean, I didn't even consider GTA 6. Is GTA 6 going to be part of it? I don't know. Like, is that going to be part of the 2024 release schedule? Because I mean, if GTA 6 is going to be part of it, then yes, that's absolutely on my top 3. But I guess it still feels so mysterious to me that I don't even feel comfortable playing it loose. I'm just going to assume GTA 6 is 2025. Oh yeah, dude. MGS3 again. Is MGS3 coming out next year? Shit. Man, this is getting tougher by the second. Because if MGS3 is coming out next year, then something's got to move over. MGS3, hell yeah, dude. I hope it's coming out next year. What other game will make $2 billion in Q3 2024? It must show at the awards. MGS3 came out this year. You know what I mean? MGS Delta, the Snake Eater remake. We have Riot 2000. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. You're saying, appreciate your content, but have to ask, how likely is it we see a PlayStation announcement at the Game Awards? Spider-Man 2 DLC, God of War DLC, Ghost 2. Well, first off, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the content, and it's a great question to ask. So here's what I'll say. I think the likelihood of Sony having a announcement for PlayStation at the Game Awards is 100%. Okay? There is no chance Sony doesn't have some type of announcement lined up for the simple fact that the Game Awards gets insane viewership. Like, it is conceivable that GTA 6 will reveal at the awards because it gets that much viewership. It has insane. I mean, look, I said earlier that the Game Awards don't matter. I mean that in the sense of, at the end of the day, like, they're just made up awards, right? But they matter in the sense that, yeah, it drives a shit ton of viewership, but there's no doubt that the main driver of that viewership are announcements. It's basically, I would argue that the Game Awards at this point is like the closest thing to E3 that we have now. I mean, like an E3 event where it's like everybody gets together one time and drops some shit that maybe you weren't expecting. The Game Awards has been growing each year, so I think the chance of getting a Sony announcement is 100%, but the big question is, what will that announcement be? You're saying Spider-Man 2 DLC? You know what? I didn't even think of that. Yeah. To be honest, out of everything, that actually sounds like the most likely. They probably have that lined up and ready to go. But if you want to look beyond that, the God of War expansion or DLC, I could see that being announced. Ghost of Tsushima 2, I'll be honest with you, as much as I would love to see Ghost of Tsushima 2 announced, I do not think it's going to get announced until the next Sony showcase sometime in 2024. Again, I do see Death Stranding 2 showing up. I could see maybe Sony could show some Concord gameplay if they wanted to. That would be that would be a nice surprise, assuming it turns out good. We could see, I mean, you're clearly focused more on first party. I think anything Sony would have to show from first party would be very limited, frankly. I think it would either be Spider-Man DLC or God of War expansion. But in terms of like I saw somebody mention like the Last of Us multiplayer. I don't think so. No. Yeah, true. Final Fantasy 16 is going to be getting a DLC. I think they said 2 premium DLCs. Maybe the first one could be announced. That could definitely happen. A teaser? Maybe. Yeah, I mean, maybe. See, the whole thing here for me is I'm not, even though I do expect Sony to have some announcements at the Game Awards, I don't expect them to be any major first party announcements, simply because any major first party announcement they make at the Game Awards means that's one less like brand new first party announcement they'll have for their own showcase. But it's all about timelines. So, I mean, I will say this, a teaser for something. I could see that. I could. I could see a teaser being something that gets dropped because you know what, like let's just use Ghost of Tsushima 2. I'm not expecting it, but if they wanted to drop like a 30-second teaser trailer for Ghost of Tsushima 2, first off, it would fucking like I mean, it would, you know, people would be losing their minds. I would be over that. And even though it means Ghost of Tsushima 2 won't get announced at the next showcase because it was already announced, what it does mean is that they could be ready to show another trailer 6 months later, possibly at the next PlayStation showcase. So I think a teaser is actually a possibility. I don't know that I'm sitting here viewing it like, oh yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I'm going in fully expecting it. I would say keep your expectations tempered. Definitely expect Sony to show up, but I'm not convinced that Sony's going to want to like steal the show necessarily. They could. I mean, they could. I would listen, man. I'll tell you right now what I would love to see. You want to ask the question like, what would I want to see? I would want to see Sony fucking kick the damn doors down. It's what I want. Tired of this shit. Yeah, I'm tired of all the fucking naysayers. I want to see Sony come out and remind people, hey, we got some good shit cooking. That's what I want to see. But I just don't know that the Game Awards is necessarily where that's going to happen. But a good question, Ryan, and I appreciate the super chat, buddy. We could get a Wolverine trailer. I don't know. It's possible. I will say we could get a Wolverine trailer for the simple fact that, dude, we have not seen anything of Wolverine except that CG trailer in 2021. It's conceivable. It like that to me sounds like something that's a little bit more realistic, but not totally sold. I don't want to get my hopes too high. Spider-Man 2, yeah, I think it's very, 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 very likely. I don't even want to say likely. I want to say it's obvious that Spider-Man 2 is going to get DLC. Alan Wake 2 DLC coming. Jeff paid big money to get all PlayStation big first-party reveals. I mean, that would be a viable option for Jeff if he really wanted to. I don't know. Does he, I don't know how that works. Does he have to pay a bunch of money for these reveals? Or is it like the other way around where the publishers go to him because he has the leverage of, I have the platform. I can give you the viewership. I don't know how that works exactly. I'm assuming that's how it works. They pay Jeff. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It seems like that it would work that way because he has the ability to again leverage like, hey, your game can be like will be seen by millions upon millions upon millions of people. And yeah, he seems to make money from the ads. It's a great place for advertising. I know people get annoyed by it. I understand it. Like I do. He's got to find a way to make the money to produce the show and make a living. I get it. It can be a little bit annoying, but it's just the nature of things. Not much that can be done about it. My question about the Game Awards, I mean, I have this question every year, and I get my answer every year. It's the same answer every year, so you would think at some point I would stop asking the question. But my question is it going to be a 3.5 hour show? I think it is. I think it is going to be a 3.5 hour show because that's usually how it goes. I don't care though, because I'm totally okay with the Game Awards being ridiculously long at this point because I realize like it is truly the last hurrah of the year. You know what I mean? Like it's the last time where you can gather around and have some kind of excitement and wait for and hope that there's some kind of big announcement, just because once the Game Awards ends, it's not that there isn't any gaming news, but in terms of like events, maybe February, March next year. So the wait is usually a little bit longer. Am I expecting the Bill Clinton kid to show back up? We can only hope so. We can only hope so. MBG does 4-hour streams, 3 is nothing. Dude, believe it or not, it may not seem like it. It's a lot harder to stream that long when watching something. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's because it's almost like if I'm watching like a lot of let's face it, a lot of these times at Jeff Keighley shows, there's just so much shit that I'm not interested in. And that's the way it goes. You know, there are long shows, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there over the course of 3.5 hours I'm not interested in. And I'm like much less engaged with the audience because I'm watching with you. And it can just get so like, oh my God, like, wait, how much longer the show's left? But I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm actually really looking forward to the Game Awards this year because I don't know. I'm thinking there's going to be some very, very exciting announcements. I really get that feeling. Like, I noticed that Jeff isn't even overhyping it at this point. Like, he doesn't seem to be overselling it. And that tells me that he might not have to, because I think people know, like, I mean, let's face it, man. Like, Jeff is winning big right now, because even if GTA 6 doesn't show up at the Game Awards, like, if GTA 6 is not revealed before the Game Awards, he wins, because everybody will tune into the Game Awards thinking GTA 6 will be there. And even if it's not, he still wins because he gets that viewership. But if GTA 6 is revealed on like December 3rd or something, sorry, Jeff, that's gonna be tough, because everybody will know it's not showing up there now. But we'll see. So MBG, do you think Naughty Dog will accept their adaptation award and be empty-handed? That feels like a perfect layup for Neil to turn to the crowd and say, like, did you think we would come empty-handed? Assuming they win it, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, we have not heard anything from Naughty Dog, right? And it's just been bad news. Frankly, it's just like there has been no announcements, and I don't know, man. Sony did just announce that they're delaying 6 of their live service games. I think that The Last of Us was definitely one of those games. I do. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, man. I have no idea what to expect from Naughty Dog. I think I'm just at a point where I'm not expecting anything. If I had to really just kind of whittle it down, I'm not expecting anything from Naughty Dog, because it's just like, I've been expecting them to show me their Last of Us multiplayer game for literally years now, and it just has never happened. And I'm like, well, we got all the inside reports that apparently it's on ice, so it's like, I don't know that I have any reason to. Yeah, I know they said that 6 were going to be launching, but I mean, it would be a great surprise, man. I would love it. MBG in January, which CEO do you think we see on stage? Jim or Hiroki? I don't think you'll see either. You're not going to see either CEO. You'll probably see Eric Limpel there making it, be like, thank you guys. Like, hello. I don't know if it's to accept an award, or not an award, but like to speak on behalf of Sony or for any reason. But I don't know, dude. Definitely not Jim. Definitely not Jim. Definitely not Hiroki Totoki. I don't know who. They'll just have Kojima. That'll be good enough. Kojima can speak on behalf of Sony. That'd be pretty smart, actually. Shu. Oh, yeah, true. Shu, yeah. Actually, yeah, Shuhei Yoshida is the most likely. Totally forgot. He's always traveling, and he's always showing up at events. So, yeah, actually, 100%. If Sony's going to have anybody representing them there, it'll be, I think, Shuhei Yoshida. No doubt. Smart move, too. Everybody loves Shu. Everybody loves Shu. We have Riot 2000 again. He says, it's sad to see how much Naughty Dog has fallen. Insomniac and Santa Monica both are leading this generation by miles when Naughty Dog can't deliver in 3 years. Well, I'm in agreement in the sense that I think Naughty Dog's fan base is getting a bit restless at this point because normally by this point we would have something announced, like at the very least, like here's our next project. Doesn't mean it would be ready to launch, but we would know something. And Naughty Dog, the only thing they've really delivered this generation so far is a remake, which they only came in and finished. They weren't even responsible for the bulk of its development, which is fine. They did what they did with The Last of Us 1 PC port, which was a disaster. I think everybody's over it now, but it was a disaster. And we were told that we were going to hear more about The Last of Us multiplayer, and then we proceeded to hear nothing. So I do understand the sentiment, Riot, and I do think it is kind of sad that, like, I don't want to say Naughty Dog has fallen because we don't know. I think it's safe to say that they have struggled a little bit and hit some roadblocks, and that is a reason to be concerned. But I'm giving them a break in a sense where it's like, listen, game development doesn't always go perfectly. Maybe the studio was mismanaged to a degree, and if it was, I hope that they can get it together and that they can come out and surprise us. You know what I mean? Hold on. I hope that they can come out and surprise us at some point and just like get back to proper form. But you mentioned like Insomniac and Santa Monica. I agree. I think both Insomniac and Santa Monica have surpassed Naughty Dog. I think Naughty Dog has to work, man, to get back on the horse. I do. I'm not saying they have to be perfect. I'm not saying any studio has to be perfect or is expected to be perfect, but the most important thing, in my opinion, that Naughty Dog does is whenever they make another new game announcement, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a new IP. I don't care if it's The Last of Us multiplayer. I don't care if it's The Last of Us Part 3. Whatever it is, it has to be impactful. And it has to drive that. It has to reinforce. Like, see, we may have been gone a little while, but we're back at it. If they, we can't see a situation where dude, that's what I'm saying, Shems. Oh my God. If their next announcement is, here's The Last of Us Part 2 remastered or director's cut, fuck me, man. I'm not trying to hate. It's just like, what? There has to be more than to it. It can't just be that, man. Like, if that's all they have, I'm gonna fucking facepalm and be like, dude, I don't care that you guys want to resell. I know Sony wants to resell The Last of Us Part 2, but you can't do this. If it included factions, I mean, 180. Total 180 right there. MBG, it's a delay in an announcement and people go straight to Fallen from Grace. Well, I'm telling you, Johnny Gaming, the reason for that is because right now there are collective groups of people actively trying to wreck Sony and its fan base. Okay? Like they are actively trying to wreck this brand, at least on the internet, and anybody who's a fan of the brand. And when we don't have anything in front of us to say, hey, but look at this. Look at this new game that was announced by Naughty Dog. We don't have that. We only have the promise of, we're going to get factions. They're working on a new game, and we had these negative reports. So I can understand why some people again, it's just the influence of the internet, man. Like, here's the reality: these people who are trying to trash Sony, they're not doing fucking anything. They're not Sony is continuing to do very well, and no amount of online internet hate is going to have an impact on that as long as Sony is still delivering what people want from them. But it's just something that I think is having, it is having an influence, I think, on the internet to a degree, and people who, peruse the internet, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, comment sections, Reddit, any other forums. It's like, you're probably going to see people talking in this way, or at least some people. And, it's just going to have a type of influence. And so, you're saying, Josh, they were in the same exact position once with Uncharted? Well, I'm rooting for them, man. I am. I want to see Naughty Dog succeed. I do, because they're just too talented. They are. I would be okay with them moving on from The Last of Us. I would actually love to see a new IP from them, but at this point, I just don't want to see them come out next year and be like, "Hey guys, you ready for this announcement?" And it's like, "Yup, Last of Us Part 2 remastered." It's like, but it comes with factions this time, right? Nope. That would be a gut punch to me. And I know they're gonna do it. I mean, they're gonna. I know The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out remastered, but man, if they would be wise to announce their new project alongside of it, I think. You're saying the PS5 is trouncing the trash box worldwide sales. I mean, yeah, but it's all about perception, man. The perception in the eyes of people is the reality, even if it's not. It's just the way it goes, unfortunately. So, Riot, I appreciate that. We also have Ice Rezo with a $5 super chat. He says, MBG, remember the reason Konami pushed Kojima was because of a ballooning budget. Connie Booth is the Kojima for Sony. CFO being in charge you're saying like for the near future is bad. Well, it's tough, man. Like, I don't know that it's an exact comparison, but basically what you're saying here is that Sony is focused on keeping their costs in check and not letting their game budgets balloon. It's a double-edged sword. It is. Because on one hand, like, I want the creatives to be able to fully realize their vision, and if that means they need more money, I obviously want to see Sony give them more money. But I also do understand Sony's position where, and I'm not trying to be like, hey, let me talk from the corporate side of Sony, but it is just the reality that, like, they are running into problems with their profit margins. Like, their games are becoming less and less profitable. And it's not that I care about Sony's profits. I mean, I don't. I care about it to the extent that, like, I hope that they can achieve a better balance where I would like to see their games be more profitable, so that way they don't feel less inclined to invest in them. And when you talk about, like, the budget, listen, this Last of Us multiplayer game probably had well over $150 million put into it, or at least $100 million. Okay. We just need to take a step back and realize that one of Sony's biggest, best, and most important studios, one of their most vital studios, spent years and, again, probably $100 million plus on this multiplayer experience that I don't know. We don't have the answer to this question. And man, it's going to be a hell of a day when we get the actual answer to this question. But for some reason, it was decided that it's just not happening right now. When they say the game is on ice, you know why? Probably because Sony's like, we're not putting any more money into this unless we know it's actually going to bear fruit, right? And you can understand that, but you do have to, like, look, I don't know much about the CFO of Sony, Hiroki. I don't know much about him. I don't know if he actually gives a shit about the game side of things. Look, man, I don't want to sit here and pretend that I know how to run a multi-billion-dollar brand and, a family of studios. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and pretend that I would make the right moves. I'd probably fuck everything up myself, truthfully. I'd probably invest too much money here and not enough here. And before I know it, it's like, well, the investors are fucking freaking out because where are the profits and where, what are happening to our margins and like, why is this game costing $300 million? Like, I mean, it's a difficult thing to manage. It is. And there is no denying that right now Sony is cutting costs, but I don't know. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know that this is ultimately going to result in something bad. I just think that it's pretty clear that they need to reel in like how much they're dumping into each project. Like, there's no way. I could be wrong. I don't want to give a person I don't know too much credit here. But Sony's interim CEO, Hiroki Totoki, would have to be actually stupid, in my opinion, to think that the answer is we need to cut the budget of Santa Monica's new IP or Ghost of Tsushima 2. We need to lower their budget and continue to invest as much money as we are in these new live service games. That would be asinine, in my opinion, because it's just, one is a guarantee that yes, you're going to invest a lot of money, but you're going to get a good product. The other is, if you continue to invest a lot of money in this, you don't know what kind of product you're going to get. And that to me is just based off of the simple logic that there are some things underneath the PlayStation Studios brand that are proven, and there are some things that are not. And that, in this case, comes down to what is proven is the studios know how to make single player games. And most of them know how to do it very well. Most of these studios do not know how to make multiplayer live service games, let alone do it very well. So what I think is likely happening right now is Sony, I think, maybe divided their games in half, their live service games. I think they took the cheaper live service games that don't have AAA budgets or like massive AAA budgets, right? Such as Concord, Helldivers 2. What else is there? I'm drawing a blank. I know there's a few others, but games like this, and they're like, okay, we dumped money into these, not like $300 million, not $220 million, but maybe like $100 million, $120 million, and let's see how they do. And then I think maybe the other half of the live service games are the ones that they did dump more money into. And here's why, though. You ready? I think what Sony did is they dumped a lot of money into their first-party studios that are more talented, that have a better track record. For again, like Naughty Dog, we know Naughty Dog has zero experience in live service. But what we also know is they're very talented and they're a moneymaker for Sony. So it's understandable that Sony, when they ask them to make a live service, they're probably more willing to give Naughty Dog way more money for their project than, say, Sony London or, a studio like Arrowhead or whatever, right? But again, like it's just okay. Well, you're taking a talented studio, you're giving them a bunch of money, but you're asking them to do something they don't really. I don't want to say they don't know how to do, but they might not know how to do, or at least Bungie might not think they know how to do. So that's why I just think like when you talk about cutting costs, I want to believe, just based off of simple logic, that there's no way they're going to cut the budgets of their single player games that they rely on to succeed. Right? Like one of the only things that Sony has that works for them consistently. There's no, like, why would you cut the budget of that? Cut the budget of the other shit. Because that's the shit that's unsure and unproven and you don't know. So I don't necessarily know, Ice, that it's a bad thing. I don't want to see a situation where Sony just blows all their money, not all their money, but way too much money and finds themselves in a dangerous position. Shelly, you're saying Sony's going to follow Ubisoft with the expansion pass they just announced for Avatar. It's $120 for Avatar to get story expansions in the future. That's how they'll raise prices. I mean, I'd be fine with that. Like, as long as the base, if I don't mind that, because that to me just sounds like a DLC roadmap. I'm fine with that. Like if Sony comes out with Wolverine and they're like, look, we have a full game here for $70, but we have a roadmap where we're going to have like large expansions that come out over the course of a year, like one or like two of them. And basically over that time, it'll equate to what could be close to a second game. And we're going to charge you like, I don't know, like $100 for it or something. I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. Sounds great to me. To be honest, that sounds like a potential, that sounds like a good model possibly for these bigger AAA games to, I don't know. See, what's tough about that though is like they still have to work on that content, you know what I mean? And put money into that content. Which is fine. I mean, they should. They're asking you to buy it, but it sounds like it could potentially be a way that Sony could handle it. And I'd be okay with it. You're saying at some point they will put the cool stuff behind the pass? I don't think so. I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but I don't think that would be a wise move because it's like the main goal again for Sony is we need to sell millions and millions of copies. Like, listen, you're going to see Sony, and they're already kind of doing it. They're nickel and diming to a degree. And it's because they're struggling to make the most important thing to their investors. I'm not saying it's important to me, but again, it's just if you're trying to understand the bigger picture, the most important thing to Sony investors is what are the profit margins? Like, that's great that you're making $6 billion in this quarter. How much of that are you pocketing? $350 million? It's like, okay, how are you going to get that number up? The way Sony's going to get that number up is by doing more shit themselves. That's it. That's all it comes down to is Sony looks at that number. Okay, we made $6 billion. I think it was either $4 or $6 billion, but a bunch of billions of dollars in revenue. See, Sony is able to see exactly where all of that money's coming from. And when they see like, okay, so like 60 to 70% of that, maybe that's too much, but like more than 50% of that is coming from live service microtransactions and season passes and skins and everything else. We need to get that for us. You know what I mean? Because like 70% of that is going to Epic Games for Fortnite, to Microsoft now for Call of Duty. So this is people look, whether people like it or not, Sony has to pursue live service. I would love a reality where Sony could just say, fuck live service, we're never doing it. But it's just not realistic anymore. It's not. And it's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not even Sony's fault. It's the market's fault. It's the gaming market's fault because these are the games that we've championed collectively. These are the games that make the most money. These are the games that are dominating. I mean, utterly dominating. Not week in and week out, not month in and month out, but yearly, they are fucking dominating. So I don't. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're saying pick your poison, live service multiplayer games to feed single player game development or expansion passes with higher price single player games. That's the question we should be asking ourselves is, would the market be willing to spend more money on single player games if it meant no live service games? I'll tell you right now, the market's going to say, fuck you to Sony. we might say, okay, we'll pay a little bit more if it means, you could just continue focusing on single player. But dude, the general market will absolutely reject that. At least I think. I think they would. And who knows? Maybe, I don't know, maybe Avatar, maybe what they're doing with Avatar could be, I don't know, maybe it could usher in like the first instance of like, oh, maybe this can work. Yeah, exactly. The reaction to them raising the price by $10 to 70 has already been met with a lot of flack. Ice Rezo, again, you say if their games as a service are successful, then you can forget about single player games because it takes a lot of manpower to keep up with the content. That is truly my biggest fear. Yes, that is my single biggest fear. But at the same time, we have to be reasonable in our assumptions here in that. Let me give you an example. Let's just say Firewalk. Okay, Sony's new studio. So they have about 120 developers. Let's say they release their game next year and it fucking is like, oh my God, they did it. They actually got lucky and this is the next big thing. This is like the next Apex Legends or Call of Duty, whatever the fuck it is. It's massive. Sony, the first thing they would do is evaluate their current studios and they would have to ask, who are we going to now make Firewalk developers? Well, one of the first things, it wouldn't be Sucker Punch. It wouldn't be Naughty Dog. It wouldn't be Santa Monica. It wouldn't be Guerrilla. It wouldn't be any of these like more established studios that are like neck deep in their own projects. It would likely be another studio that is having trouble, or if they're not having trouble, maybe it just seems like the project they're working on, it's the least likely to bear fruit, right? Let's just say Sony London. No offense to them. I mean, but let's just say that, they're struggling with their game and it's not making good progress. If Concord is a big hit game, and it's like obvious, like this is the game we were trying to get. You take all those developers, like they would probably fold like a studio like Sony London into Firewalk and like double their manpower to like, you guys were making your own live service. You don't need to. We got our moneymaker here. We're bringing you in. But would they turn to Naughty Dog and say, okay, guys, you got to come? No, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't. Basically, Sony London would be turned into a support studio. Okay, and if it got even bigger, right? It's like, oh man, we have like 200 developers, 250. You'd hire more people, but that might not be enough. You might have to rely. So, okay, who's next? Well, again, if Concord's their big hit moneymaker, that takes priority. You don't turn to, who you turn to next? You probably turn to Firesprite and say, listen, you guys have like 3 projects in the works. We need to take one of your teams. And we got to put that other project on ice. We got to take one of your teams and we got to fold you in. You're saying, bro, they're not doing any of this with Hiroki Totoki. You keep in mind, if this is a big if, like I'm saying if Concord is a massive hit, it would have to shock, dude, it would shock everybody. That's the thing about these live service games. They get lucky. That's just the real. And I'm not saying that they get lucky in the sense that, well, I guess they just made a good game. No, it's that there has to be a spark. a catalyst. It is worth noting that Concord is being made by mostly former Bungie developers, mostly former Call of Duty developers. So they're a veteran team. I don't know what to expect from their game. I'm just saying, like, Sony might actually believe in their product. It's coming out next year, and you just never know. You just never know when the next hit live service game is going to come around. I'm just pointing out the fact that if Sony does strike gold, if they hit that gold mine, yeah, they're going to turn some of their studios into support studios to fund that game. But it will not be their money-making studios. That's the point. Firesprite hasn't made Sony any money. Neither is Sony London. You know? The studios that aren't making Sony money would likely turn into support. And it wouldn't, I'm not even saying it would be a bad thing. Because the reality is, and this is why I hope Sony finds what they're looking for sooner rather than later. I genuinely hope Sony finds a major hit success live service game. Because once they do, this pursuit is over. You know what I mean? This pursuit is over, where it's like no more dumping money into these projects that may just be dog shit. No more throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. We got something that stuck. They can now separate. Okay, now we have this big hit game and we need more manpower. We'll get that manpower. We'll hire. We'll create, we'll fold some of these studios in that aren't producing effectively to become support studios, and we will leave our money-making studios, the ones that are very important to the PlayStation console and the PlayStation brand, we'll let them continue to do what they do. Now, could Sony, now that's ideal, obviously. Could Sony get greedy? I mean, look at what happened to Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty, the reason why they, in my opinion, the biggest mismanagement of Call of Duty, because it is a massive, I mean, I want to say mismanagement because in terms of money making and business, they won. Like, they make the most money. I mean, they make so much money, it's crazy. So from that perspective, they won. But I just mean, like, in order to produce a new, like, it's not a single game that they're supporting every year. They're producing a new game every year. Like, they're expecting one of their 3 studios, you gotta have a game ready. You gotta have it ready. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's gotta be ready to go and ship. That's a fucking crazy high pressure, especially like because it's the biggest AAA game. It's gotta have high production value. That's insane. The production level is fucking absurd, is what I'm trying to say. And the money they make is absurd. So it matches that. But the biggest mistake, in my opinion, is them not taking their foot off the gas and realizing, because look at what happened to almost every studio underneath Activision. They all had to get folded in to become support studios. Like now, Neversoft is part of, Infinity Ward now. You'll never get a game from them again. And it just kept happening over and over again. And it's because they needed to feed that machine. But I don't think Sony is trying to pursue that model, because that is like when Sony said we can't make our own Call of Duty, I think that's what they meant. I think they meant like we can't produce a game of that size every single year. It would take almost all of our resources. But if they produce one game like a Destiny 2 that is a hit and can be sustained and just rake in that money, and the content can be produced in a timely manner and keep the player base happy and engaged. But again, if Sony does find that, that's true. They might decide that, you know what? Why just settle for one hit live service game when we can have 2? And that's where shit might start to get scary. Where, I think we're all under this. Here's the question we have to ask ourselves. Is Sony desperate to get out of making AAA single player games? We have to ask that question. Is Sony desperate to get out of making AAA single player games? I want to say no. And the reason for that is simple. It's because even though they may not produce the best, they might not have the highest profit margins, they still make Sony money. At least in the grand scheme of things. So I don't think it's about them trying to get out of that market. I just think it's about not having to rely on that market by itself because it's too volatile. I think that is the goal with Sony right now. I think it's just, look, we don't want to leave the single player development. I don't think that's what they want to do at all. I just think it's a matter of we need another way to create revenue and profit that isn't so reliant on just this one space that has proven it can be volatile. You know, I would be okay with Sony doing that, finding success in that area. I just, we would have to worry about like what that means for the future of their single player games. But I would argue what we're seeing right now is worse than Sony having a big hits live service game, because right now Sony is legitimately like taking a shotgun approach where they're just throwing money in all these different directions and all these different games and all these different projects, and there's no indication that any of them are going to succeed. So if they do find a success, they won't have to just start throwing shit everywhere, or they can stop doing that. So I don't know. That's the big question that we need answered: Sony's live service future and where this is headed. But definitely, that was really squeaky. That definitely makes for a good conversation. I know the rough patch is necessary, but we'll have to see, man. You're saying everyone keeps chasing the next Fortnite, but none succeed. Developers need to make their own games, not copy others. I'll tell you right now, man. We're going to see Concord next year. Sony reconfirmed in their holiday blog post that Concord is on track for next year. I'm telling you, man, this game is going to it's going to speak volumes. It is. Concord is going to give us an abrupt answer when we see it. Like, these developers are either scared shitless to show their game, or they actually know they have something and they're ready to fucking shock and all. And I'll tell you right now, there's not going to be an in-between. That's the craziest thing about a game like Concord, as well as Fair Games. There is no in-between. Like, your game is either going to hit with the Sony audience and grow outwards from there, or it's not. There is a barrier to entry here. There is. Because I'll tell you right now, if Sony thinks that a game like Concord is going to just steal Call of Duty players, no. What it could do, though, is it could win over PlayStation players, people who just, are your core audience. And maybe you could steal a little bit here, a little bit there, maybe steal Destiny audience. I don't know. But it's going to be so interesting to see this game, man, because we're either going to like walk away from it being like, wow, this looks really fun and really good, or we're going to walk away from it being like, oh, man, this is scary. What is happening to Sony's first party? It's simply down to luck. Yeah. There's no one simple solution, truthfully, or one answer. Dark Horse, member for 1 month, says, why does Sony not just jump all their live service money in? I think you would say dump all their live service money into Bungie. Literally, Destiny is a money cow. Put all the live service money into it. I think they did. I do. Listen, they spent $3.7 billion on Bungie. $1 billion of those dollars was just to retain talent. Let me ask you, do you think Sony spent anywhere near $1 billion on any one of their games? Like, do you think Concord has a budget of 300 million? Do you think even The Last of Us multiplayer? No, dude. They invested the most money into Bungie, and Bungie is in trouble, dude. I'm not saying they're on life support, but they are in trouble. And that's why I had that long conversation telling you guys, like, dude, Sony fucking bet on the wrong horse. Like, Bungie could turn it around, and it could turn out that they did bet on the right horse, and it all works out great, but it's looking dire, man. And you're right, Destiny is a cash cow, or at least it has been for a while, but everything changes, man. And what we could be witnessing is the beginning of the end of Destiny right now. And that would be just such a hell of a thing where it's like Sony would have literally invested in the end, the beginning of the end of Destiny. And there's this big hope that Marathon is going to be it. And it's like, guys, it's fucking luck, man. There's just no way around. It doesn't matter how good or not good Marathon is. The only way that game finds the same level of success as Destiny is it needs luck. Frankly, the biggest shot that I think Bungie has is a proper Destiny 3, but they're probably fucking completely out of ideas, man. Like they would need years to develop Destiny 3, like a proper Destiny 3. And their entire business model, their entire studio is based around feeding the beast. And I don't know, maybe they could. This is why I've talked about Call of Duty so extensively, because it's fucking insane. Call of Duty is unfucking touchable. And I realized that by watching what's happening with Modern Warfare 3. This game is this brand is untouchable. Maybe in the long run, like maybe like 10 more years from now, 20 years from now, maybe that won't be the case. But holy shit, they just finessed their entire fucking community, and their community was just like, yeah, we're angry, but here's my $70. Yeah, that sucks, but here you go. I'll take 2. Thank you. I mean, it's that I don't know that Bungie has that. They could. Bungie could try to pull that off where it's like a bare bones, rapidly made Destiny 3 and banking on the notion of like, we need our Destiny players to give us money for this. Even if they're unhappy, like we need to fall back on them. And I don't know. Like, I just don't know that Bungie has that kind of pull. And granted, Call of Duty can get away with that this year. But if Call of Duty kept doing this every single year, I mean, if it was this bad every year, it would eventually start to fall off. But the brand is just so established and so strong that they can have these disastrous fucking years and just say, yeah, we want $70 and because we know you'll give us $70 and we'll just move along here. That is where every company wants to be, man. It is. And it sucks because it is like we want to do the least amount and get the most for it. And it's still a dangerous game to play. It is. Like, it could definitely backfire, but Destiny, I don't know that they have that fucking safety net. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how much pull they have. But I don't know, man. It's a tough thing. It is. It is a tough thing. You're saying some people are saying they do. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the way forward. Then maybe Marathon will do it. We'll see, man. Maybe Marathon with Sony's backing, maybe it could really turn things around. But Ice Rezo, again, with the $5 super chat saying, MBG, believe it or not, PC gamers determine which games as a service are successful. Sony have to appeal to the PC gamer if they want their game to be successful. That's a good point as well. And I think that's obvious Sony's going to try to do that, because yeah, you're right. A lot of these like big streamers that like they only play like one game at a time, and like that's all they play, and they have massive followings. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They have to get the attention of these big names, but we've seen this, right? We've seen games do this for a short period of time, but then they, the streamers are done with it and they're tired of it already, and then they go back to what they know. And I don't know that anything Sony can do will usurp like Fortnite or anything, or these Fortnite streamers, or these Apex Legends streamers or whatever, or Call of Duty streamers. But yeah, Among Us is a good example of like something that kind of, it had its time in the sun and it was short lived. They made a lot of money, but then it's it. Like who's talking about that game now? Yeah, we'll see, man. It's a big bet that Sony's making. I mean, I said that they bet on the wrong horse with Bungie, and I still do believe that, but it's not, it's not over till it's over, and we have to see how it all plays out. I just hope it's not a fucking car crash in slow motion, man. like that's my whole thing. I just hope it's not. I hope we are not about to witness a car crash in slow motion with the decisions that Jim Ryan and Sony have made, and we're about to see that play out in front of us over the next 4 or 5 years. Hopefully not. But guys, with that being said, I think this is where I'm going to end this stream, because I am completely out of topics here. And I definitely talked all about the Game Awards, which is mainly what I want to talk about. We had some other discussions as well, some extra discussions, and I enjoyed them. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this Tuesday stream, guys. Just to recap, I did forget to mention this. It is in my title, though. Sony had 13 total nominations, by the way, for the Game Awards this year. Nintendo, I think, is leading the way with 15. So Nintendo, I mean, always doing good work, man. But yeah, I'm sure Sony's happy about those 13 nominations. But that is going to do it, guys. I hope you did enjoy the stream. Again, as you're heading out, please take a second of your time, hit that like button. Before I go, I want to give a big thank you. Novinzer, you're saying you sent a super chat. Novinzer, I have a super chat from you from 1:37 p.m. Eastern. I did read that, where you said Microsoft will take the credit for Starfield's success, but won't take the credit for how bad Call of Duty is right now. I just don't understand that. You're saying you don't know why it's not showing up. Well, Novinzer, why don't you type it in the chat really quick before I go, and I'll see if I can answer it. Because I don't know. Maybe YouTube's still bugging out. I don't have anything on my end. William, no problem, man. I appreciate you showing up. Novinzer, I'm going to look out for your chat while I'm doing my outro here, okay? I also want to just give a big thank you to everybody who has super chatted, and we hit 26 members today, so we did crush our goal, which is awesome. So big shout out to everybody who gifted memberships as well. I really appreciate you guys, showing that support. You're saying you sent another. Yeah, dude, nothing's coming through on my end here. I have no idea what would be stopping it. Double check something real quick just to see if make sure it's not glitching out. Yeah, Novinzer, I only have that one super chat from you, man. Maybe YouTube is censoring your comments. I mean, I only have, that I'm not, it would come down to what you would have said. I mean, you have to say something. That's what it kind of doesn't make sense. Novinzer, if you could tell me what your super chat was about, maybe that would give me a better idea. But either way, Novinzer, look, if it's I can't do anything about it. That's the problem. Again, YouTube doesn't really give me any tools. It says it just sent you an email for a cancellation for some reason. That is bizarre. Yeah, I never heard of that. I don't know. Well, here's what we could do, Novinzer. I'll be doing another stream later on this week. So hopefully you can tune into that. And, I'll try to look out for what you're saying in the chat. Really quick, is it just before I go, just to make sure, is anybody else seeing this? Like, you're saying he sent it already. Are you guys seeing a super chat that I'm not? I don't think so. The card was declined, maybe. It's a possibility. Okay. Yeah, because I see your chats, Novinzer, but it's all good, man. It's all good. We'll try again next week. But either way, Novinzer, I do appreciate it. And everybody, you're saying he said it in the chat? Let me see. I got a really bad glare here. Kojima always said the consoles held him back. Do you think he'll max out the PS5? I think he will. Yeah, I mean, with Death Stranding 1, I was very surprised with like how damn good that game looked. And it was very smooth too. So it was a polished game. And he has more development time this time around with Death Stranding 2. There's no rush, at least I assume there isn't. And yeah, he's always, I think, tried to push the limits of the console. I mean, even I remember MGS4 was like taking full advantage of the PS3. It was like mind-blowing at the time how good that game looked. So I absolutely believe Kojima's going to try to max out. Yeah, especially with the Decima engine. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see it. I hope we see it at the Game Awards, man. So, Novinzer, I'm happy I was able to still answer your question there, man. But I really appreciate it, guys. I'm going to head out now. Again, hit that like button on your way out. Big shout out to you guys for hitting the goal today. And I will end this poll so you can check it out. And I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps. So if you see him in the comments, give him a big thank you. But that does it, guys. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, take care.